What up?
All right, we're live. Welcome everybody to AI Agents Hour. I'm here with Abby, as always, every Monday.
The Admirals of AI, back to you again.
I see you have your stack of books.
Yep.
I only have my single copy sitting next to me. Always next to me, you know.
I have the benefit of living in the publishing warehouse where all the books are.
Who knew we were also creating a publishing company as well? But
Hundreds
yeah,
of boxes here. So.
you can get your own copy of the book if you don't have it already. Mastra.ai/book. How was your weekend, man?
Dude, I was in the dungeon all weekend making moves.
Didn't even come up for air, huh?
Dude, honestly, it didn't come up for air. It's one of those like coding holes that I was in, and I'm still in it actually. So I need to come up for air. But I did grow a mustache in the dungeon, so that was a good use of time.
Hey, you know,
Dude, I had a crazy beard, right? Because I haven't been shaving and
yeah.
taking care of myself because I'm in the fucking dungeon. And then, I just made a mustache. I was like, at least something productive happened today in my personal life.
Hey, I mean, the mustache is looking good,
Thank
looking like a real cowboy, you know.
Yeah. Dude, discovered a new drink, dude.
Right?
Syrup, sugar, Dr. Pepper, strawberries and cream. Like, what is this? What is the world coming to?
The cream soda one is very good too. Zero
It's-
sugar cream soda, Dr. Pepper. Rakesh, hi. This is live as you see this. Kevin, we're excited to have you participate in the hackathon. We're going to be talking about that in here just a couple seconds. I am, as I did last week, just drinking my sugar-free Red Bull. Not sponsored, unsponsored sugar-free Red Bull.
Celsius either. This is all right. I would drink it again. But anyway.
Yeah, my weekend I was not in the dungeon, but I did let Claude Code rip. So
Nice.
it was like a lot of async work. I like sent it on a task, had to do some stuff around the house, came back. Me and Claude Code were big time friends over the weekend. I mean, I had to put Claude Code in his place multiple times. It was going off the rails, but we got it to a good spot. So
you had an intern over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's so wild how sometimes it's just amazing, and then other times you're like, why did you do that? So it really is like, it's like a really smart intern you cannot trust.
Yeah,
You just can't trust it, but it's gonna amaze you some of the time, and you just let it go. I also found, and I hadn't checked this before. I'm just gonna look at it right now. There's a slash cost feature in the CLI when you're just using the CLI mode. So now I know how much I've been running it all in one session. So my current Claude bill over the weekend was $104.
Oh shit!
That. So I was letting it really do its thing.
How many messages was that, you think?
I might tell me. Khalil, you didn't really miss anything yet. We're just getting this thing kicked off. We're going to start talking about the Mastra Hackathon. We're just kind of chatting about our weekends first, but this is live. If you have any questions or anything along the way, please post a comment in whether it's YouTube, whether it's on X, we're on LinkedIn as well. So drop a comment. All right. So my total duration says 70 hours.
Oh shit.
Total code changes, about 5,000 lines added, 1,300 lines removed. I used Claude 3.5 Haiku and Claude Opus, apparently. 668,000 input tokens, 1.1 thousand input tokens for Opus, 146,000 output tokens for Claude Opus. So I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't say how many messages though, unfortunately.
The session was 70 hours though?
So total duration running on the API was 2 hours.
Oh, sick.
So, but my session has been 70 hours since I'm assuming that's since I started it. I don't know. I don't know if it's active, like even if I'm not doing it must be I've just had it running.
Yeah.
So, because I've just had the same session running the whole time. Obviously, I haven't been actively doing something with it the whole time, but I've been kind of.
The profit on your time right there is super awesome, right? If you spend 2 hours versus this thing.
Yeah. And it got way more done in 2 hours. Like I could have done everything that I had it do, but it did it quite a bit better.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Claude's slightly better designer than I am. You know, hate to admit it, but
Your time is worth more than $100 an hour. Let's just say.
yeah,
So that's pretty dope.
yeah. I mean, I think I got to try the Claude Max plan because apparently you can cap at 200 and you can go beyond the usage. So I think I'm going to spend more than that this month easily. I spent 100 over the weekend. So, anyways, we should probably talk about the hackathon, huh?
Yeah, let's talk about it.
All right. Well, for those of you that are tuning in, you know, there's quite a few of you, 80 plus of you watching right now. We are announcing kicking off our second Mastra Hackathon. You can always, I think we have this somewhere queued up. Probably not. Go to mastra.build if you want to learn a little bit about it, get registered. And it's all around templates. So if you were following us last week, we announced Mastra Templates. But let's talk about what that is. Let's talk about the hackathon. We'll talk about some of the prizes, who the judges are, who we have already for sponsors. And if you have questions along the way, please drop them in. So Bakesh has a question. I mean, maybe you can take this while I pull up the slides.
Sure.
But what makes your Mastra AI unique compared to existing AI frameworks? Are there exclusive features that set Mastra AI framework apart? Good question.
Yeah. I think it's an intricate question because like we're trying to do every agentic primitive that exists in the community. We're doing it purely in TypeScript. We have our own workflows, memory, etc. It's everything you need to build an AI application. That's what sets us apart is actually the community. Hackathons like this, the people in our Discord, that's really what sets us apart. I would actually say it's like the movement that we're kind of starting here in TypeScript AI.
Yeah, I would also say, you know, there's of course a lot of features. I think our local dev playground gets a lot of credit for people being able to test and iterate really quickly. So I think there's a lot around that too. We hear that a lot from some of our customers. All right, let's do this. I don't know. All right, so we're gonna go through this. This is gonna tell us all we need to know around what the Mastra.build hackathon is this time around. This is our second one. Last time I think we had over 100 people submit projects, although there were some people that submitted multiple. So it was probably like 70 or 80 that were like unique different teams or individuals submitting.
And there were bots too.
What?
There were a bunch of bot submissions too.
Yeah, or they just like repeated the submission. Yeah, there's a good handful of like 20 to 30 of those. But yeah, we have quite a few. And so let's talk a little bit about the prize pool. First of all, like what's in it for everyone who participates. So we have a whole bunch of different categories, and we'll talk about what those categories are here in just a minute. But for every category, we'll have a winner, and they'll get a $512 Amazon gift card. And we'll also be launching at some point in the next couple weeks a community section of our templates library, and we'll show what the Mastra AI templates page is today. But we are planning on having a community contributed section. So if you do contribute a template, even if you're not a winner, we're just going to pick the ones that we think are good uses of templates that others will benefit from, and we'll highlight quite a few of those in our templates page on our website.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of additional actual prizes that you can earn or win: a Raspberry Pi, a Nintendo Switch. Everyone who submits will get a copy of the book ideally sent to you if we can. There are some countries we can't send to, so we'll send you a digital copy. We'll be giving out a copy of the AI engineering book, a mechanical keyboard, and meeting mute buttons as well, a couple of those. So a whole bunch of actual physical prizes. But we'll talk a little bit. So for those of you who are new, some of you, this is the first time, learning about Mastra or thinking about, joining our hackathon and you're not really sure what Mastra is. So we'll talk about what Mastra is. We already kind of had a good thanks, Abby. We'll talk about it, what on schedule, judging categories, and then how to actually submit. So that's the next 15 minutes. All right, so we have some questions already. All right, Jelp says, hey, What's up? What's up? And an actual question, can I submit multiple templates for the hackathon? So we're going to get to that. You should submit your one best, but if you do have other good templates after the hackathon, you can still contribute them, and we'll likely still promote them and do we want people to be sharing these. So whether you can share it, of course, and people can just use it, or we do want to feature quite a few of them on the website as well. So
yeah.
And then Khalil says, let's go.
Let's go.
All right. So for those of you that don't know, me and Abhi, we're two of the three co-founders of Mastra. So, follow us on X and tune in every week. We're here every Monday. So we are, if you've been around, we're here every Monday. But what is Mastra? It's an open source AI agent framework for TypeScript. Abhi kind of highlighted some of the big features, but we have agents with tools, memories, tracing, voice capabilities, MCP support. We have agentic workflows, so you can do human in the loop all around a simple API. We have evals. We're just actually improving our evals system, so even more to come on that. We have storage for RAG. We have a local development playground. We have agent networks. We have a whole bunch of different primitives for building AI agents or AI applications. Anything I missed, Abhi?
We got a lot of shit, and it's all good.
And it's always changing too, always improving, because the space is changing. So we like to stay on top of it and change along with it. But let's look at the actual Mastra templates page here. So this is what we just announced last week. And you can see we have a bunch of Mastra templates. We'll go through a few of these real quick and kind of talk about them. But each of these has, a video you can watch.
Users are beginning to expect
and you can deploy it instantly to Mastra Cloud if you want to just test it out. But you can also just run this command and you can install this template locally. So what we would like to have happen is, as I mentioned, we want to have a very rich community section of contributed templates. So people can find a good way to get started, right? A template is one, like a starter. It's also like an educational resource for thinking about how you could actually build something like this. And maybe you just learn from it, or maybe you build on top of it, right? So it's a good way to get started. It's also a good way to showcase how you might integrate with different service providers and services. And so I think there's a ton of integration type templates that would be really nice to have for people to get started. And so this is a good opportunity for you to build something you think would be useful maybe in future projects that you have, for others that might want to build similar types of things. So really it's all around like, how do we make it really easy to get started and share these? All right, so we got another question here. Can I build and submit templates in the influencer marketing niche? Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. And Shrita jokes, why 512? Well.
Why not?
Why not? And Foundry Studio is just thinking about probably thinking about all the types of templates that could be built. All right.
The great thing about templates is the whole educational component is so understated, because a lot of people want to know how to do shit, and a template can just show, even if you don't use the template, it shows you what to do. And that's tight.
And here's another great question from Khalil. Should it be use case focused or tech focused? And actually, it could be one or the other, or potentially both, right? I think there will be a ton of use cases and tech focused templates. And I think both are valuable because they sometimes serve different purposes, right? Use case is probably more educational, but you could still maybe build upon it. Tech focused is definitely more probably starting with and building on it, right? If you know you're going to use this specific piece of tech and there's a template for it, you can now either learn from that and kind of copy it into your project, or just start building right on top of that foundation. All right, so let's keep going. Let's look through some of the templates that we have just for examples. So we have a docs template. You'll notice that each template has a repository. So if you are going to contribute a template, you'll need a public repo, but it's a good use case for anyone to want to maybe get, especially if we feature your template, we'll make sure we show the author and contribute or link people back out to your repo so people can go there for questions and potentially continue to contribute to it. So we had a docs chat bot, so you can chat with your documentation. We have a browser agent, so you can automate browser actions. That's using Stagehand. So there's
that one's sick too. I like it.
Go ahead, dude.
Sorry, I really like this template. This one's tight.
Yeah. So that's a cool one. And it shows a little bit of like an integration, and obviously it's good. It's kind of use case driven as well. We have this chat with PDF and chat with CSV, because those are kind of simple examples where you might want to have a PDF or you have a CSV and you want to have an agent that can chat through that. We have text to SQL, so you can use natural language to query and talk to a database. And then we have deep research, which is kind of like what ChatGPT's deep research or like Manus or whatever. There's like different deep research tools. We kind of have a simplified one here that provides a good base or a good starting spot if you're going to build your own. So those are the existing templates. We have more to come that will be officially supported, but we would also like to see, and that's what the hackathon's about, a ton of community contributed ones. So we can help anyone who wants to build agents or workflows or agent networks or MCP servers and all that. All right, so let's continue on and talk about the hackathon. So it starts today. Some people I've already seen on X, some people are already started. So they already shared what they're building. But if you have already, great. If you haven't, there's still plenty of time. You have all the way till next Friday to submit. So we'll be in Discord. A lot of people from the team will be in Discord. So if you have questions, go to the Mastra-Build Discord channel. We'll have a link here that we'll post in a bit. But please join us on Discord and chat with us there. As far as the general schedule, so today we're doing the opening session. That's happening right now. The next 2 weeks or till next Friday, we'll be building and hacking and coming up with all kinds of fun templates. And then on the 8th at 8 a.m. Pacific, that's the deadline for submissions if you want to be considered for prizes. So we mentioned some of the prizes before. That's when you'll need to submit. And then on the 11th, so that next Monday, that gives us Friday plus the weekend to kind of comb through all the submissions. We'll be live streaming just on this, like we're doing right now, the award ceremony. We will be having office hours on Discord at 10:30 a.m. both Wednesdays, and we'll just be doing an actual like voice or video hangout. If you do want to come with questions, you don't have to wait for that. Please just use Discord as you go. But we do want to have some, if you want to come and chat and hang out and talk, 10:30 a.m. Pacific on Wednesdays. All right, so let's talk about all the categories. So we have 12 categories, and we have some judges that are going to be helping us judge different categories. You can submit to more than one category, so you can submit a project and you can select, I believe it's up to 2 categories that you want to be considered for. You don't need to select a few of them. Some of them just like best overall. That's not a category you select. We'll just choose the best overall. And then the last 2 are also, we'll just choose those. You don't have to submit to those. But the categories that you'll be able to select from when you submit your project is best MCP server. So if you're actually building an MCP server with Mastra, it's judged by Smithery. And Smithery is sponsoring, and they're actually throwing in a switch for the best use of Smithery. So if you build an MCP server and you're using Smithery tools in it, you will be considered as for that bonus award as possibly earning that switch or winning that switch. And so Smithery is going to judge the winner of that category. The best use of agent network, this will be judged by someone on the Mastra team. We have the best use of auth will be judged by WorkOS. The best use of web browsing or web browsers or browsing agents will be judged by BrowserBase. The best use of tool providers. These are services like Arcade, Composio. There's a number of others, but Arcade is going to be judging that category. So if you have interesting use cases for tools that you integrate in to your agents or your workflows or your agent networks, Arcade will be judging that. The best RAG template will be judged by Chroma. So if there's interesting uses of RAG or RAG providers. best productivity. This could be personal productivity, like a personal assistant agent or something like that, or more of like corporate productivity, like a project management system or something. Best coding agent will be judged by someone on the team. Best crypto agent. So if you want to build an agent that interacts with blockchains or does crypto trading, Recall is going to be judging that. And we do have WorkOS and Recall coming on today, just to talk more generally, but also talk a little bit about the hackathon. And then the last two, Abby and I get to pick. I get to pick my favorite, and Abby will comb through and see if there's any. Hackathons should be fun. So if you have any funny use cases, if you want to just submit something, you can still win a prize for being the Abby's favorite or the funniest.
Yep.
So we like to have fun around here, but a lot of time, a lot of people asked about examples. Were you gonna say something?
No, I just said it's too much fun.
Yeah, we have a good time. So any examples you want to see, Abby? I have a list here. I can obviously read through it, but I think everyone who's watching can read. But anything that you would want to see?
I really want to see like some deep research type stuff that like uses agent network or uses even any of the primitives to do that type of stuff. And then a lot of Copilot type examples would be really cool because there are a lot of Copilots out there. So yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think there's a ton of integrations that I would like to see just personally.
Yeah.
Personally, one that I might build if I have time or if someone else beats me to it would be, and this is selfish because I would like this, but we do these live streams every week. I would like a RAG template that takes YouTube transcripts, chunks it, puts in a vector DB, and then I have an agent that I can talk with, our transcripts from the show. That would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool.
And then maybe we expose that on the website or something, and then people can chat with, ask questions about, have we talked to this guest or have we talked about this in the past? What episodes was this on? So
yeah,
we got a ton of questions. Maybe we should answer some.
Yep. Let's do it.
All right. So someone says templates are so cool. Thanks, Franco. We agree. What about a template that builds templates? That seems like a code agent. That'd be cool.
Pretty cool.
Are there any specific guidelines or requirements for the templates? How do we submit it? We're going to be talking about that in just a minute. We have some of those. We have some docs. And here's a kind of a general question. As a template, would it be better to have a standalone project or have it inside a Next.js project, for example? So for templates to work and be installable, they need to be standalone, not necessarily embedded with the front end. So we'll be judging based on, just kind of a standalone Mastra project. Of course, you could take your template and build a front end for it and do all that, but that's not necessarily what we're going to be judging in this hackathon. So the idea is, you could still do that if you want, but we're going to be judging, can we, with one command, install your template, of course, add some environment variables, but then interact with the agents and the workflows in the playground and actually have it do something interesting. That's how we're going to judge this hackathon. So it's all about Mastra specific templates, but could be in any of these different types of examples. And is there a starter boilerplate or sample Mastra template? So if you go to mastra.ai/templates, you can see 6 examples that we have. They're also in the templates directory in the monorepo. They kind of sync between the 2 places. So you can check it out there for what kind of a simplified template has. And we do have docs. I'll share those here in a bit. And so to answer Austin's questions, do you want to include custom UIs? It's not required. So we won't be judging based on that. So it might be not the best use of your time. Although if you wanted to take your template and do something with it, of course you'd want a UI. Yeah. How complex does a template need to be? It doesn't necessarily have to be that complex. If it solves a good use case and it's simple, that can actually be a very good template. Sometimes less is more. So I don't think there's like a set level of complexity. And Arcade is here. That's good. Cool. Khalil, glad you're here. And then, Austin, yes. Templates are kind of focused on the Mastra backend server with the playground. So it's not necessarily the full app. Our goal is then it's a little easier for people to submit, right? You don't have to build the full app, which could be very complex if you want to build a really immersive UI, a really good UX. And then, yes, if you were to win first place in 2 categories, you could win a gigabyte, but you actually could win 1.5 gigabytes, because you could win another category such as funniest or, my favorite or best overall. So you could actually win technically up to 3. We probably, it'd have to be really good to win that, but it is possible. Yes. Are we encouraged to use these providers, WorkOS and Arcade? Yes, you can use them. You don't have to. We'd encourage you to, you do what you think is going to be best for a template. But of course, we do think that they're great and they're going to help you out. But you can either roll your own integrations. You can use these providers, other providers. Ultimately, it needs to be a Mastra template, but you don't have to use specific providers, though it may help you get further faster. All right. That was a lot of questions.
Yeah, they're really good questions. Templates are, one part education, other part bootstrapping, getting started, So those are like kind of criteria.
All right, so let's talk about the prizes. As we said, each category winner is a $512 Amazon gift card. So 0.5 gigabyte, as someone said, for using that. And then we're going to pick quite a few of them. We're going to have some, like, we got to kind of figure out exactly what qualifies, but we're going to try to list a lot of community member templates on the website, because we want to make these easily discoverable. So just know that, we'll be picking a number of those to actually be featured. And even the ones that maybe don't make it on the website, we'll still be featuring in social media. We'll be bringing people on if they submit a good template. If you want to come on the live stream, like, that's an option. We'll be talking about it over the next month for sure. We do have a few kind of early sponsors that already came out and wanted to go full in on helping us out. So thanks to Recall and Smithery, and we have some more that are likely to be announced soon. So we'll be talking about them quite a bit throughout the week, but appreciate them for helping with some of the prizes and, making sure that we can make this even bigger and better than the first hackathon, which was already great. So as far as what judges are looking for, so just overall appeal, how useful or interesting is it as a template? How educational is it, or how well does it help someone get started? If there's some creativity, that's always good. But, kind of like general AI engineering principles, how AI native is it? That's more of just like, is it a cool AI use case? Overall project architecture, yeah, obviously it needs to be a Mastra template. Completeness, so is it a template that would be ready, you could share it, and someone could actually use it to either learn from or to get started. And then, yeah, adherence to the Mastra template guidelines. So there's the docs, and we can maybe pull that up real quick, and I'll just share where this is at so you can see it. So we have in our docs community section, there's a contributing templates, and it talks about the requirements, talks about like template criteria, some quality standards, how to submit it, what required information do you have, what the review process is, a whole bunch of different details. There's probably some other validation, template gallery. Yeah, a lot of documentation you can read there, and some other links to, I think, like the reference and the project structure. So you can see roughly like how we expect a template to be structured. And the goal is, the reason we want to have some structure around this is we want consistency. That way, if someone uses one template and they're learning from it and they go and try a different template, there's at least like a rough level of consistency between them so they can understand it quickly. And I think it's just a really good for getting started or educational resources for there to be that level of consistency.
I just thought, like, the more templates that exist, the better LLMs can write Mastra code. Just say.
Yeah. The more templates we get, the better we can have a code agent write templates.
Yep. That template builder and template thing. There you go, dude.
Yeah. So question, I'm from India. How is the cash prize distributed? So it's going to come across as a gift card. So it would be, as long as you can access Amazon, we'll be able to get you a gift card. Derek, he's coming on later, I think. He wants to switch. All right, you can win it. You only get to judge your category, so you can win a different category. Vinicius, so what's up? Thanks for stopping by. And yeah, let's finish up.
Wait, we're not going to ignore this one, dude. We want a Shane bobblehead. That is
Yeah, I didn't want to manifest that into reality, so I skipped it.
Who wants to manifest it, dude? I do.
If we do it, we got to do AI Agents Hour bobbleheads, and then we just put it in the background.
Yeah, but no one wants my bobblehead. They want your bobblehead. You know, milk this.
If they want your bobblehead, it's because you have that sick mustache.
Nice one.
All right. Okay, so let's make sure we submit our projects. There's a link. It's going to be posted in Discord. I'm not going to post it because it's a Google Drive link. You're not going to type that out, but we'll be tweeting about it. It's in our Discord. We'll be mentioning it. So there's a form to submit by 8 a.m. to be considered. You'll need a link to the public repo, kind of like the demo page or README, right? It's just the README, a 1-minute video. And the video is required because we realized last time if you didn't require a video, we got some submissions that it was hard to understand without someone explaining it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the link is available. We'll share it in our Discord. So please go to the Mastra build channel for those that are looking for that submission link, and we'll be sharing it there. And we'll also be sharing it on our X account. And so if you follow Mastra on X, we'll post it there. We'll post it in the description of this video as well, along with the links to the slides. So yeah, 1 submission per team as well, because we figured last time we had a bunch of people that decided to do a number of submissions when they would have probably been better chances of winning prizes by doing 1 better submission. If you do want to build multiple templates, please do. You can always submit them after the event, but we'll only consider 1. So pick your best one to submit for prizes. And we do have raffle prizes. So again, everyone who contributes a template gets a copy of the book. You'll get a copy of the book, assuming we can send it to you. If you're in a country we can send to. But we'll also be sending out Raspberry Pis, AI engineering book, mechanical keyboards, and those, and mute me buttons. Those are just prizes. It's like a raffle. So if you submit a template, you're going to be in the prize pool for a chance to win one of those. All right. Any other questions? I know we're kind of going a little long. We have guests waiting in the wings. So if you do have questions, please drop them in the chat. We've already kind of answered a lot of them as we've gone, but please let us know. If we don't get to them in the live stream, please come on the Mastra Build channel in Discord and we will answer them there. Here are the links. So our GitHub, our website, we have other events. You can follow me and Abi, but the important one is maybe Discord. That if you go to that, you'll get to the Mastra Build channel, I believe, in Discord. So please go there. And let's build some templates.
Let's do it.
All right. What do you think, dude? You ready to see some sweet templates the next couple of weeks? I think we're going to get a lot.
I'm stoked. It might reduce the amount of questions that people ask about certain patterns and shit.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tease this, but we're gonna be doing more with templates soon. So not gonna share exactly what, but these templates are gonna get even more life outside of just living on the website. And
someone already guessed it in the chat what we're doing, but I'm not gonna tell what it is or confirm or deny it.
I didn't see it. I must have missed it. So
let's see. Let's answer a couple more and then bring the guest on.
Wondering if crypto category winners would want USDC on chain. Hey, maybe we could maybe do that. We could make that an option. That's a good idea.
That's a great idea.
Let's see. What else do we got? MCP client and server templates would be sick. Yes.
Would be
really cool.
Got this one. It depends. So that's at language level. So it depends if execution is as fast or not. So
Yeah. In a lot of cases, if you're just making API calls, it's going to be, very minimally different.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Jack's here. What's up, Jack? We're good. Yo. Are we hiring?
Are we hiring? Are we?
We're pretty good. We're not, I wouldn't say we're actively hiring, but
If
you
you're
never know.
if you're cracked, I'm hiring. But if not, I'm not hiring.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
All right. We are going to move on to the next segment because we are way behind.
Yep.
But that's okay. Sorry for all the guests that are coming on later, but we do want to bring on one of the judges of the hackathon, and we're going to talk a little bit about the hackathon, but we'll also talk a little bit about just what's going on at WorkOS. So we are going to bring on Zach. So let's bring Zach on.
Zach.
Hey, all. Thrilled to be here. Thanks so much for having me. How are you? Great to see you guys.
Yeah, great to see you. We haven't actually met virtually besides on, I think, Slack. So nice to be on a call.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, likewise, definitely. Thrilled to be here with you all. And if audience members didn't draw the parallel, at the AI Engineer World Fair recently, my colleague Nick and I gave a 2-hour workshop on how to build agents in TypeScript using Mastra. It was awesome, so much fun. And we're doing a ton with Mastra internally for internal tooling, and just because everybody's real deep in the Gen AI game these days. So yeah, thrilled to be here. Really enjoyed seeing Mastra take shape, and was like, coming from Pinecone and having done a ton of like Jupyter Notebook maintenance, it's really, really, really nice to be able to see a single RAG pipeline defined in one language. It's quite clean. So yeah. In terms of AI and WorkOS, or go ahead. Questions about that?
No, just like I'm super flattered right now. Thank
you. Cool.
Yeah.
Great.
So
there's proof. I can wing you this link real quick, Slack, Shane, and I had so much fun doing it. We actually wrote up a blog post about it just to share with everyone. So there's links there to the YouTube video that shows the demo of what we did during the workshop, and there's also the link to the repo, which is open source if people want to use that, or maybe it's helpful for some template inspiration or something.
Yeah, I was already grabbing the YouTube link, but if you have a general blog post that has the YouTube link in it,
I do.
Send that here in our chat, and I'll drop it in, and
great.
We can get it on to everyone who's watching can grab it.
Cool. Let's see.
I think
I just was able to send it to you in private chat.
Yeah, so I'll drop that in. So it's going in the YouTube for sure. I think that I don't know if it actually posts everywhere else, but
cool. Awesome. Yeah, and then in terms of just what are we doing at WorkOS in terms of AI? So everyone is trying to figure this out. We've been looking at what can we do to help you deploy MCP servers securely, super quickly, globally around the world. So that's kind of some fun stuff that I get to hack on during the day. I'll drop you another link here. This is another open source template. It's a Vercel template, but it just shows kind of here's how you can use WorkOS AuthKit to provide the auth layer for an MCP server that you deploy on Vercel. And so, my colleagues and I in dev education kind of have a pretty awesome job. We get to just build stuff with awesome open source projects like Mastra all day and then write about it. So
that's dope.
That's what I do. Yeah.
What are you seeing out there in the auth game, like when it comes to like AI agents? Because for like the longest time, no one bothered us about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now they are, right? Because I guess people are evolving. What are you seeing out there?
I think it's a good problem that you guys have. It's also because like Mastra and the playground experience is so awesome that once you kind of get it up and running, you just want to actually publish it. That's a great question. We're all seeing the MCP aggregators. We're seeing like just an absolute flood of interest in all these protocols, not just MCP, but A2A, ACP, et cetera. And I think the answer is that everyone's really trying to figure it out now, and at an actual UX and DX level, right? Like what are the right ways for agents to actually authenticate? Like how should they represent you later, even if they've been running for 3 days, right? There's like a lot of actual thorny issues to get into when you're actually dealing with a production implementation. And so we're kind of just trying to cautiously curate and examine and see what's working for folks and what's not. And then provide, just as you guys are with templates as well, excellent kind of like proven out paths. But yeah, certainly an explosion of complexity, certainly an explosion of what's possible, and certainly an explosion of very, very exciting opportunities in the future, but certainly tons of complexity as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I saw Michael, or you'll call him MG, right? Is that what y'all say?
Internally, we tend to, yeah.
Michael G. I saw him give a demo about OAuth 2.1, right? And it really got me excited about the future of the world. And that, like, is that like a homegrown WorkOS thing, or is he just the one championing it? Like, is that made from you guys, or is it like a community thing?
It's the community. It's community and spec, and we are very plugged into it and close to it, and we're constantly watching it. Like, to the point where we might even like write blog posts in the future about like weekly updates to the spec because they're very relevant to us. But it's definitely an ecosystem and a community effort.
Do you mind explaining to the audience like this 2.1 spec or something?
Oh man, put me on the spot. Let's go look it up together. What are the differences? So I think one of the
maybe while you're looking it up, because I was at that demo too, because that was AI Tinkerers, right?
Yeah, the Tinkerers.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a cool demo because it was like, how do you authenticate through like an MCP server, right? And it was like, how do you authenticate and then like buy a T-shirt through MCP?
Oh yeah.
And it was kind of like okay, it unlocks in my mind different types of experiences. And so
that's what you guys are referring to. That's MCP shop. That's also for what it's worth, that's live and you can still use it. You can use any MCP client, whether it's Cursor or others, and you can buy a shirt and we'll send you that shirt and honor it. It's also an open source repo. And that is actually the same place that I cribbed inspiration for how to do just Vercel MCP directly with AuthKit.
Nice.
Yeah, absolutely. But the other thing is like there's so many thorny issues too. Like if you're actually imagining like real world scenarios, we might have multiple agents. I was even thinking about this in the context of the AE Engineer World Fair. Like what happens when you've got 75 people and all of them have agents that are all working on their behalf, all trying to call Ubers all at the same time. All these entrances are already flooded, et cetera. So I think there's going to be in practice when we actually have hundreds of thousands of agents running in everyone's cloud. Interesting conflicts in the real world, for sure.
Do you think agents will have like their own identity, like structures? Because I think like right now it seems like generating client IDs and secrets on the fly seems cool and shit, but like maybe you should have just assigned stuff to a particular agent. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
This is something that we actively debate every day. I mean, this, like from a UX dev perspective, it's incredibly desirable to be able to just spin up a project and have an agent defined in it, right? And some IDP that you already trust, and have that agent be able to kind of dynamically register and get some credentials that are valid. The folks on the security team probably have a different opinion about how cool that is, especially when it's running long term, especially when we're trying to answer complex questions such as, but on whose behalf did this agent actually do that incredibly destructive action? And then how do we actually trace it back in a meaningful way? All of these, I think, are fascinating open problems that are going to require some kind of community creative building, for sure. What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, as framework builders too, like how do you look at it? And is it the sense like, I haven't shipped a framework before, I've used many a framework in my time. How do you guys kind of try to think about the boundaries of what you want to provide and the types of things that you want to kind of maybe shell out to or provide escape hatches for third-party providers?
It's a really good question. Shane, you want to go first, or?
Yeah, I can take it. I think one of the most important things is we know as framework providers that people are going to come with their tools and their stacks for many different reasons, right? Maybe because it's the best of this thing, maybe because it's one person really likes it, and so they have to have this provider, or they use this provider for another service, and so they need it to work with this provider. So I think, when you think about having to build a framework, you need to make it flexible enough so that third-party providers can be inserted at almost every level, right? Whether it's like even something that feels like the framework should be able to own it, you still have to have escape hatches for third-party providers but there's also a lot of things that we don't necessarily want to own. So originally when we started, we wanted to own integrations. We thought maybe we could own integrations. And then we realized, okay, well, with MCP, it's less like we should just rely on that. And with all these other providers that are already going really deep in integrations, why should we don't necessarily want to care about that. And so I think, we think of kind of auth, I think in the same way, is we want to provide the tools so you can kind of bring your own auth providers, but we also know there's a lot of people that care a lot more deeply about auth than we do. Not that we don't care, but we're not going as deep. And so I think it's that's kind of our general thoughts. I guess. What do you think, Avi?
Yeah, like for auth in particular, which is a really good example, like our users wanted first, because Mastra creates a server, people want to do HTTP JWT auth. And we were like, okay, cool. But then other persons are like, hey, I use WorkOS, I use Supabase, I use X. So then we were like, okay, we should just have an auth adapter system, which is very similar to how Mastra works in general. Everything is an adapter, so you can always escape by implementing your own auth interface. And so that's what we do. We are still experimental with this, but like we have a WorkOS one, we have a like a whatever Supabase, etc. And if you want to bring your own auth solution, that's cool. And the great thing for us is frameworks, now that we have an auth primitive, as auth changes in the world, we still have that entry point that we can add features to. And then the contract with, for example, us and WorkOS is like super tight. So we'll just always be developing that module together or whatever. We didn't do this in the past. We like learning this now, because at Gatsby, we did not do shit like this.
And you got your hand burned the first time around, and now.
Yeah.
Oh, fascinating.
From experience now.
Does that design philosophy extend in some degree to like the way the build configurators work now too in Mastra? Like I noticed there's tends to be like a base abstract class, and then like, hey, here's Vercel. I'm gonna gin you the correct JSON just for Vercel, right? But I know internally like what the actual like markup is for this.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Pattern for sure.
Yeah. We
Nice.
do we do that with deployers like Vercel or Netlify or whatever, Cloudflare. We do that with like workflow runtimes, right? Or different, whether it's like ingest or temporal or whatever. So the goal is like this: we follow this pattern. It's kind of our playbook, right? Like we follow this pattern, so that at almost every level, when we can make it happen, what will hopefully have it for you. You can just like easily use, or if nothing else, you can always roll it yourself and kind of like build your own if you just supply the contract.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah. It's super fascinating to see, like not having worked on a framework product before. It's cool to see like over time, those learnings, right? It's like, I don't want to go down that route again.
Also, like what gets cool in a framework is when you have a cloud product that uses it. Like before, you'd have to like hijack the user's code to then do whatever specific things you want to do. But if everything is interfaces, then you can just inject whatever you want. And that's tight.
I love that. That's like, I heard last week, I think Theo in one of our ads said, he described WorkOS to people that didn't understand it as like, I just want to see my own app's code again. I just want to get back to my own application logic. And then like, the idea is like, there's this pane of glass in front and that handles the login. And once you're here, you're off, right?
Yeah.
Love that. Super cool. I want to, there's a question here that I saw that I just wanted to also make a comment. It reminds me something I wanted to point out. The experience that I had personally, I think to some degree, I'm maybe like your patient zero at WorkOS, because I remember installing Mastra and getting that prompt in the CLI saying, would you like us to auto inject our MCP server? And I said, yes, please. And that worked the first time. And that coding session immediately after was one of the first times I experienced like 98 or 99% like one-shot performance on features being developed because it was consulting the actual syntax of your docs. And I thought that was so fantastic. So this question about like, is there a best practice on having MCP server? I just wanted to call out as like from the actual like NPX CLI create app UX, we all thought that was so terrific, and kind of want to emulate that where possible.
Yeah, thanks. Please do. I think every should have a doc server now.
Yeah, that's what we kind of fast followed up with. I built the doc server. Also from stealing from you guys, I read your implementation. I was like, okay, let's do the same thing. We can roughly make that same pattern work for us. Although in our case, the docs have to be kind of siphoned out of a private monorepo first. But yeah,
that's dope.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I was gonna say that's why we want to have a template for that. So next time you don't have to read our code and try to decipher it, but you can maybe have a slightly easier starting spot.
Yeah, awesome. Oh, that reminds me too. The other question I think the answer is yes, but to what degree do you guys see TypeScript as being essential, especially in this Gen AI world, right? Is that like another benefit of having the strongly typed language, like be able to kind of figure out on its own without, a couple more human loops, some syntax issues?
Yeah, like for us, well, one, we're TypeScript people, so like it makes sense.
Yep.
We're like we're seeing a really cool pattern where coding agents are running TSC themselves, fixing their own type errors. Sometimes they're hallucinating, of course.
Yep.
But because of that type check, you get a built-in agent loop of, for example, in Cursor, like anytime you can just run TSC, or it knows that there are TypeScript errors in your file, it'll address them automatically, there's a benefit. You can add this kind of stuff in Python too, but we're seeing it just comes out of the box with the language, which is nice.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'm noticing like Cursor kind of pick up I just got 4 linter errors with my last edit. Let me go resolve those quickly before I even talk to you again. Definitely a nice added benefit. Yeah, what do you guys think the end game is for all the MCP stuff too? There's the same question. I kind of want to talk about how we also have seen and even support and have resources and examples and docs now for like multiple MCP paths. You know, you can deploy on Cloudflare, you can use their adapter, you can use WorkOS there in that slot. Where do you guys all see this going in the next couple of years?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Yeah, predicting the future is very hard, especially when we can't predict what's going to happen next week. But I think that I think there's one thing. It's pretty clear that MCP is going to be one of the winners for sure. Like as far as like standards, as people are, once you get enough of a critical mass, I think that MCP in general is, far and away the most popular standard that's emerged kind of in this space, right? There's others that are there and maybe they're complementary, maybe they're competitive, but ultimately like MCP is here to stay. I think it's, as a spec, it's getting better, right? They're continuing to improve it and try to make it better. But I do think that as far as like where this all goes, I don't really think we even know what is going to be accomplished yet by MCP. Like there's people talking like, are agents going to pay through MCP? Like, I don't think so. Like, I don't really believe that that's going to happen, but maybe, you never know. Our, like we at Mastra released like an MCP course. So your agent teaches you the code. Like that's not a pattern that was ever thought of or supported, right? It kind of works. It kind of doesn't work because it doesn't always work perfectly depending on what editors, what models you're using. So I think there's a lot of patterns that we haven't even discovered yet. So I think it's really hard to predict what MCP is going to look like in 2 years.
It makes it really difficult for us as library authors too, because we have to implement the whole spec, or at least die trying, but then people don't even use the whole spec, right? Like who uses all this other shit? I've never seen someone use it yet. Personally.
Elicitation just came out, right? And I think we're behind on content even for it, like let alone even using it correctly, let alone even having a best practice opinion for it yet. And I sit here like you guys and play with the stuff all day long. So yeah.
I do think though that because there's just so many new features and people are getting to the tool call part of MCP, and a lot of people just stay there because that's all they fucking needed. It's just the tool calls, But then I think as more big players, this kind of happened in the JS ecosystem too. Once big players start sharing their work on like, hey, this is how I used resources to do this useful problem, then it'll come into a hype cycle. Like always, like, oh, you're not using MCP resources? Are you a fucking loser? Like that will be and then maybe it'll proliferate more. That's kind of my bet.
Yep. That is interesting. So then also, I guess, why did MCP, my feeling and perception is that MCP's caught fire sooner than A2A, which I guess it's because it's faster to show value. Like as a single developer, I can sit on my machine and get something working with MCP. And now I can see that like my favorite LLM friend has capability that it didn't have before, right?
Exactly.
Do you think that's the reason? Or
when we were talking to people about A to A, they're like, dude, like one dude was like, I barely am building my first agent. Like, why do I need another one? Like I'm not in a multi-agent network that I'm gonna need another protocol. But maybe but then what we realize all the time, and Shane can attest, our users are evolving every day as they're learning more stuff. So maybe not today they don't need A to A, but maybe eventually they do. And that's what makes it challenging for us to both make sure we support all these things, but you have to predict the future of like where are they evolving to next.
Yeah, I do think that like the problem with A to A is it is like kind of agent to agent, but I do think a lot of people are just saying why isn't that just like a tool that I can give an agent that talks to another agent through MCP? So I think there's a lot of overlap there, and I think I think MCP came on at the right time. Like people were finally starting to ready around like how do I give tools to agents. I think that was a common problem people were having. And so I think it hit the nerve at the right time. We knew someone actually in YC that was kind of coming up with something similar that obviously didn't catch fire because they didn't have the, social clout that Anthropic had for releasing it. So it's like, there's certain, like,
that was my question too.
It's gotta be a perfect storm of, like, you got to have the distribution and the reach, also have the timing right. And obviously, like, Google with A2A had the distribution, but I think the timing wasn't quite right. And also now it's like, is it owned by like Mozilla or something? They like transfer the ownership. Like, I don't know. I don't, what's that? Linux Foundation. Yeah, that's right. So they moved to the Linux Foundation. So I'm just like, I don't know how well that's going to be. Maybe people will evolve and get there, but maybe they're just going to make MCP work for that use case. That's kind of my inclination. But
there's coming from Pinecone before, there's one other place where I think you guys are probably a couple, definitely ahead of the game too, is in evals. And when I saw that evals was already baked in as a first class, so not just Mastra can not just help me set up a pipeline and run it, but also understand from pipeline run to pipeline run, is there degeneration? Is the pipeline healthy essentially? Is there some kind of like skew towards like a case I don't want to go to? And that's fairly advanced. Like, even though Anthropic and OpenAI talk about that being a best practice of actually deploying agents in the enterprise for customers, like, most people that I work with are not already thinking about evals, and they definitely don't already have it baked into the product. But it is the kind of thing that once you do get up in production, it's like, now you immediately need to go and you're going to want to reach for that. So yeah, that was really interesting to see. That was another sign of maturity for me, because it felt to me like, oh, this is coming from folks who have suffered over pipelines before, or have at least burned their hands.
Yeah, for sure. We're actually we redid our whole eval framework internally, or like externally too, and we're like doubling down on evals as like to share more primitives, because it's funny, like, we kind of like the framework reflects like our collective knowledge, and we're like learning evals right now, and
that's
now
so cool.
Better, so that's
yeah. That's so cool. It's so fascinating to think of it that way. It's like, of course, obviously it is, like, it's the product of like human engineers working together, but you don't explicitly think of it that way all the time. Yeah. I'm curious the degree to which both of you felt like, oh wow, finally this pattern of agents is available and feasible in this era, and now I can reach for it. Maybe the better question is, like, to what degree did you feel the lack and the missing of agents before? You're like, if only LLMs were at the point where they could do this. Or do you feel like everyone is like, hey, this is agents year, whether you like it or not, so now it's time for agents?
We tried building our own before Mastra. We tried building AI features, and like, I don't know, hindsight 2020, I wish we had Mastra back then, because if we did, then we wouldn't have built Mastra or whatever, if you know what I mean. Like, we wouldn't have the need to even go down this path if
Gotcha.
people like this existed back then.
I do think, though, there's a combination, though. Like, yes, the tooling sucked, but also the models were not as good. So it's like there has to be, is like the tools get better, the models get better, and eventually you get to a certain point where new use cases of agents are unlocked, right? And I still think, I think everyone would probably agree, there's a lot of things that agents are not reliable enough for. But every time there's new model updates, every time the tooling gets a little bit better to help you like connect these different systems together, you can start to think about, okay, there's more use cases now that would maybe still be pushing the edge, but might be feasible. And then the models get a little better and they become more feasible. And it's like, now we can maybe try to do something a little bit, outside of that. So I don't think there was like a tipping point for me. I think it was like when we started it, we were like, okay, there just needs to be better tooling around these LLMs. And then it's like the LLMs kept getting better, our tools kept getting better. And I think we could start to see a little further into like what could be possible if it keeps going with this trajectory, like more and more things are going to start to open up. And I think a lot of people, especially those that are not kind of in the space, like thinking about it, are going to be surprised at how many like potential unlocks are going to happen as these things continue to start to like even iteratively improve, right? Even if we didn't get a major model like release, I think we can still do a lot of great things.
That reminds me too of Vercel AI SDK, which I love, and then found that you made the design decision to build on top of that, and which also thought was a brilliant idea. I remember it was like a year ago or so, or a year and a half ago, I had built a RAG pipeline into my site just based on my own writing using their stuff. And I remember the day that they announced, hey, the 4.0 model is dropped. And so that was in my case, a 1 character change to go from 4 to 4.0. push that PR through in 2 minutes, and then the entire pipeline was like stepwise upgraded with better intelligence, and I made 0 application changes. So that was, yeah, that's another reason I want to be on the Vercel AI SDK.
Yeah,
for sure.
Easy for model routing.
Yeah,
that's great.
Definitely. Do you guys? I have one more question. Do you guys have a sense that in the near future, maybe it's whatever, it's Transformer 2.0 or some other architecture, there's some ability of models to continue generating quite quickly, but also generate with, like, let's say, higher accuracy. So we get to the point where I ask for, whatever Next.js application of varying complexity, and I get like 99% of what I was expecting, and I get it in like under a minute.
Yeah.
How do you guys think that world's coming, and what do you think that changes from a DevX perspective?
We do this session on the show where builders do ML, where we have our ML friends come on and teach us shit. And what we learned last, Professor Andy, by the way, if you're watching, thank you so much, Professor Andy. But what Professor Andy told us was, like, when you're trying to get accuracy, you need a bunch of data points, and you're doing reinforcement on a model. And then you're essentially, what accuracy means is the model is calling tool calls without having to reason about them. And then like you're just training it to then execute tool calls given certain eval cases and stuff. So like if we were talking to him right now, he'd be super bullish on the future of like accurate stuff, but he doesn't think it's going to be from a general model. You're going to have to do it yourself. And I guess that's kind of what the business is kind of built on.
So in the sense of like taking a foundation model and fine tuning it to my specific syntax or use case. Yeah. Which I also then in that world, we would expect frameworks maybe, or existing frameworks to have incredible tools for, like, distilling a model from some other model, or quantizing and getting it onto my Android device super quickly so I can go walk in the woods and talk with it offline or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think like model operations, let's call it model
MLOps.
MLOps is like, it's like a secret fraternity, right? That we are not in right now.
It's beyond secret. It's like you watch that PyTorch documentary. It's pretty mind blowing. Yeah.
They're like a mafia that we need to like infiltrate.
An Illuminati of
bring the knowledge and share it with everybody.
Yeah, I have a couple of those textbooks behind me. They're super fascinating.
I mean, so I will take the flip side of this just a little bit. I'll pour some cold water on expectations. I don't have any inside knowledge. G. John says he thinks it's coming next month. You might be right. I will take the other side of that bet, though. And I think that it seems to me that the hype has now kind of superseded the progress. Like, I think we're still getting model improvements, right? But we're having to find new benchmarks, because eventually, like, the benchmarks, like, once you get past knowledge, it's like you have to do more than just be able to recite facts or answer questions. You have to be able to take multiple steps, and then, like, LLMs can't reason, right? It's just next token prediction. And so it's kind of amazing how far that's taken us. I don't know if that's going to take it as far as people think. Maybe some people think with some of these other techniques it can. I think it'll continue to improve. I don't know if we'll see this big step change. I don't know if the hype's going to live up, if GPT-5 is going to be this, massive step change or not. I kind of doubt it, but I would love to be wrong, because I think that would unlock even more capabilities. But, I believe the hype, but not in the same maybe time scale of what some of the really big advocates of what's coming are thinking. So we will see. I don't have no inside knowledge, but we'll see who ends up being right in this. I think, eventually we'll get there. I just don't know how soon.
Super cool.
Well, Zach, it was great having you on.
It was a pleasure to be here. Pleasure speaking with you both. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you'll if you ever have a cool demo or anything you want to show, come back on again. Happy to have you like showcase cool stuff with Mastra, with WorkOS. Hopefully we'll have some really cool templates for you to judge. Maybe some that use WorkOS, but hopefully a lot that use interesting use cases with auth. And yeah, excited to have you all helping us judge the hackathon.
Terrific. Thanks so much for having us. Really, really pleased to be here.
Thanks for coming.
See you.
Yeah, see you.
See ya.
Dude, that guy is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I never met him before, but besides like chat.
Is super cool. Everyone I've met.
Yeah, we've seen him at some meetups. Definitely always.
Yeah.
Honestly, just like their level of excitement for how big of a company they are around this is just really cool.
Yeah.
And they're like, from Michael, like going to the meetups and talking and being part of it, to they're throwing like MCP 2.0 night or whatever too as well. Like that's a big event.
Dude,
Yeah.
MCP night. Whoo, that's gonna be wild.
Yeah.
What if that's like the biggest party in San Francisco?
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to be there. I'm really, really upset that I'm not going to be able to be there. But I'm assuming you're going, right?
No, I'm going to that DEF CON.
Oh yeah.
I'm not going to be there.
So Sam will be there. We will have people from Mastra. Sam and Ashwin will be there.
We will have a representative there.
Yes. So if you're going to MCP night, you'll see someone. But we're already behind, so let's keep moving. So we're taking a little bit of a divergence from talking just about the hackathon. We want to bring on someone who's building with Mastra and talk a little bit about how agents and AI can be used in medicine, and see kind of the cool things that maybe David's been working on. So we're going to bring David on to the show.
Hello.
What's up, David?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for
Welcome.
having me. Sorry for my voice. I'm a little bit sick. I woke up sick today, but I'm happy to be here.
Well, I'm glad you were able to, you're still able to come, but hopefully you feel better soon.
Thanks so much, man.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about what you're working on. And yeah, I know people are always interested in like use case for how are people actually using Mastra or even just agents in general. And so I think just talking through that would be really cool.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name is David. I've been coding since I'm about 8 years old. Started coding on Commodore 64, sold to companies very early in my life. One's a unicorn at this point. And I ended up falling to addiction in my early 30s. Ended up homeless, the whole 9 yards. Also one of those guys in the streets that you see here in San Francisco, but I was in New York. And as a result of that, I got back on my feet eventually, but then I went to rehab and I was inspired to build in Recovery, my last company that was all focused on data-driven care. I've been building ML since way before AI was sexy, with computer vision stuff and so on. But now with, we exited that about 1.5 years ago. Now we're building Clinicamind, which is all focused on healthcare AI. We see a massive opportunity to completely change the paradigm of how doctors and clinicians and patients communicate in healthcare. Really focus on conversational AI, and really rethinking the whole way that the medical record works from the standpoint of a communication platform rather than a documentation platform. So anyway, we're doing a lot of cool stuff. I met Sam from Mastra just recently. That's how we started using you guys. He's phenomenal. I love him. And also Ashwin. Ashwin and I have so much in common. So we actually were at the hackathon yesterday, just jamming with a bunch of really interesting projects that we're using Mastra. So yeah, happy to be here. That's my background in a nutshell, but nice to meet you, Abdi. I haven't met you yet.
Yeah. Awesome, dude.
Yeah, excited to hear, that you found us and you're using Mastra to build some of the cool stuff that you're working on. I guess can you tell us a little bit about what is Clinicamind and how does it work?
Sure. Yeah, so Clinicamind in a nutshell. It's so hard to explain it. We're actually going to be applying to YC. Your same partner, Gustav, actually told us to please apply, and we didn't because I went to New York and we ended up selling 3 contracts before we have a product. So now we're actually in build mode right now, but we already have about 100,000 in ARR, which is wild. But we're basically using Mastra currently to orchestrate a lot of workflows in healthcare. I'll show you some examples. I'll actually share my screen.
Let's
let me see if I can. Yeah, this will be the best, I think. Show it visually. So Sorry?
Live demos.
Live demos. Well, actually, not so much a live demo, but I'll just kind of show you guys what we're working on. I didn't come prepared for a live demo today, but we'll definitely do one next time. Give me 1 second. So how do I share my screen, Shane?
So there should be a share button kind of in the bottom middle of that, or if you press the H key on your keyboard, I think it might work.
I see it. I think I tried to share, but it didn't allow me. Let's see if I'll give it another shot.
Yeah, you should have permission.
Okay, I'll try it again. You know what? I'm going to restart the browser. I might lose you for a second, but I'll be right back in.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. We'll see you in a bit. So this is a great opportunity while we get our guest back on. This is a live show. So please, if you have any comments, questions, you can use the chat, whether you're on X, whether you're on YouTube, whether you're on LinkedIn, please drop us a message. We try to answer a lot of questions. we will be getting another guest on here in probably, I don't know, 5 or 10 minutes. But
Awesome.
David, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay, awesome. So I'm going to share my screen. Let me know when you. Oh, screen sharing is not allowed. I got a message on the on this studio restream.
That is
No.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why. We've had many guests share their screen before, so I'm curious what's going on. Let me.
I can build you a tech company, but I cannot use conferencing software.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah,
Let
exactly.
me
I
try
don't
that
know.
again. What if I try just to like screen share? Yeah, it says screen sharing not allowed, unable to share screen. Click help center. Let me see. I don't know if it's by permissions, but it seems to be on your end. Let me see.
Maybe we changed something. Not on purpose.
So
I'll we're just building a framework over here. We're not, we're hobbyist live streamers. We joke. We don't really know what we're doing. We just show up every Monday.
That's awesome.
That's
the same thing here. I just show up really excited every morning to just build cool stuff. So anyway, one of the use cases that we're building with Mastra is the actual call center for healthcare. So we have we're actually using VAPI for the conversational side, which I know that you guys are starting to partner with. But VAPI's limitations kind of hit really quickly because we need a very deterministic workflow. And that's what I love that you guys ended up using. I love David Piano. I love that you use XState under the hood. Been using XState forever. That was one of the reasons why it became so appealing to us, that there's a way to actually make agents a little more deterministic, because by definition they're not. And so using basically mapping out the workflows that this hospital wants has been just phenomenally useful. And we're going to continue doing that. Also, for example, many use cases in medicine are very algorithmic. So there's, like, for example, something called UpToDate, which is what all clinicians and doctors use inside the hospital setting to see, okay, if somebody comes in with, let's say, a seizure, this is the exact path I'm going to follow. So we're kind of giving that to our agents in many ways so that they actually follow a very specific path. They are essentially helping doctors become AI native. We're not replacing doctors. We're not replacing people. We're very focused on enabling these clinicians to actually be able to do more with AI. There's a lot of noise out there. I think there's a lot of, there's a big push for scribes, which are really, I think a lot of the healthcare AI startups are missing the mark. We're really focusing on making healthcare more human again through the use of AI, ironically, right? So that's kind of how we're using Mastra currently, especially on the workflow side. And the eval piece, I heard the last conversation. It's such an important thing. That's actually one of the winners of the hackathon yesterday was using Mastra, and specifically love the eval component of it. We're using Weave, actually, so we're tying it together, and that's another partnership that I'm trying to enable with you guys, with Wits and Biases and Mastra. Hopefully that also pans out. But using Weave, we're able to really be sorry, there's a question there. Does your agent architecture look like inside Clinicamind? Are you using single? So we're using actually multiple agent orchestration. We're not really focused on creating these massive multi-agent settings, because then you end up with the same thing that we end up with microservices, right? Just bad architecture just leads to bad results. So, but where it makes sense, and we're actually giving each of our agents a persona. So we are, you guys were also talking about this earlier, we are actually creating a very specific persona around an agent. Let's say it's a call center agent, or it's a clinical assistant agent, or it's let's say a lab expert agent, that all they do is that. And the reason we're doing that is because every provider that we work with, we're actually building their own model for that provider. So we're actually creating a graph neural network for every single provider. Provider is a hospital, a clinic, or even an independent doctor. By doing that, we're able to then feed AI into that model, and it's just it's super powered, right? So it understands where it lives, what it does, what's the resources I have available. So beyond MCP, we're really creating a way for the agents to be fully aware of where they're living, which is really, really important for healthcare, and it really creates a lot of safeguards as well.
So when all right, so let's say someone starts using your product. Are they are you ingesting all their medical records and stuff to then be available? How is the surface area of this agent exposed to the user?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So we're actually using Apollo GraphQL on the back end. So we're big GraphQL people. I've keynoted a couple of GraphQL conferences in the past, and we are using that data layer to limit the agent's access to data. So we're kind of circumventing the whole MCP security issue by actually having our data controls at the data layer, right? And then what we're doing for the agents to access that data, there's also an authentication layer. We actually are experimenting now, actually, with someone that we met recently, who's really solved some of these very big issues of agent authentication. He's a cryptography guy. He's actually going to be at DEF CON too. I might actually be going there, Abdi, so I might run into you. I've been
Nice.
going to DEF CON forever. I always tell my story that I got kicked out of high school for hacking the school district, but I've been going to DEF CON for a long time. Yeah, so I was just fucking around. But anyway, I mean, I was playing around, and it was solving puzzles more than anything. It wasn't even malicious. Anyway, so this guy that we met that's going to be presenting this at DEF CON he's just a genius from Berkeley, a professor there at Berkeley, and he's created a way to take it's essentially holographic encryption and make it real. Like a holographic manifold is collapsed into entropy, and it's just like this insane, amazing way of creating an extremely secure keyless system, actually, which is really what we need for agents. And we can maybe even have him in here one of these days. I think he'd be a great person to explain what he's built, because it's just phenomenal. It's called Enigma. Anyway, so we're using that to basically enable our agents to access certain medical records, right? So it's very important. Privacy is extremely important in healthcare. So we are always making sure that whoever's accessing anything, whether it's human or AI, is part of that authentication pool, and it's also within the audit trail of everything. So again, evals and just observability in general is such an important thing, and I'm glad that it's actually built into Mastra.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
What's the challenging part of working in healthcare?
Regulation. I think a lot of
HIPAA.
older, HIPAA's a joke though. I mean, security wise, anyone that every single person that's going to DEF CON can beat HIPAA in their sleep. But I think, to be honest, it's more so HIPAA was created by lobbyists essentially. So they didn't have the decency to tap the security community to be like, hey, does this look right? GDPR though, in Europe, that's phenomenal. Like they've actually even focused on the biggest attack vector, which is the human. The social engineering side is actually covered on GDPR, where it's not really covered in HIPAA. But really, I would say the biggest challenges of building in healthcare, I mean, there's way better ways to make money. You have to be really passionate to be in this space, because you will be, just facing crazy long sales cycles, incredibly long compliance calls with hospitals and so on. So I would say the biggest challenges are the regulation, the long sales cycles, and also adoption of people that don't want technology historically, right? They just want to come in, do their job. They don't want to be bothered. And that's why for us with Clinicamind, we're so focused on making the UI conversational. So it's not even there. The ideal way, with my last company in recovery, we were launching, we brought design thinking into the healthcare space. So we basically, during our deployment process, we were involving the clinicians. All the frontline workers were part of the development process. So that was their button. That was their idea. So they were listened to, and it actually made the product so much better, because we were literally involving our customer from day one in the build out. That's one hack. Anyone that's doing anything in enterprise, that's a great way to get actual adoption post rollout, because you have obviously the contracting long sales cycles, then you have the deployment sales cycles, and then you have the adoption. And if you don't get adopted, then you're pretty much done, right? So there's a lot of challenges. Yeah. But it's fun, and we're doing something that's really important. I'm seeing a bunch of questions in here.
Let's answer a couple questions, and then we'll let you get on with the other stuff that you have, and we'll get our next guest on. But a couple questions.
Absolutely.
Are you using a monorepo? How easy was it to use Mastra? Asking just in general about Mastra.
So we're not a mono repo right now. We will be soon. Actually, I think after you interviewed one of my really good friends, Andre, from Perplexity. He's actually building our mono repo framework now. He's an expert in that. So we will be a mono repo soon. For now, we're not. So I can't really answer how easy it was to use that instead of Mastra. Hopefully, it'll be. I'm sure Andre will figure it out.
And we do have monorepo support.
Awesome, perfect.
But there's always bundling issues with monorepos and stuff. So if you do run into something, if you're listening to this and you are using a monorepo and you're running into problems, please let us know in Discord. We're continually improving our monorepo support, but it's an ongoing battle.
Open a GitHub issue.
Yes, GitHub issue, even better. That's the best way to do it.
We actually are going to use NX, so maybe we should even just create an NX function for deploying Mastra. We can just contribute that to the open source part of this, which would be awesome for anyone building model repos with NX. The other question there, that was actually a really good one. So how are tools defining your agents, APIs, microservices tied directly into the HR logic? So I so wish we could share my screen because I have something really cool that we built at the YC hackathon, the MCP hackathon. That's actually how we met Gustav. I was downstairs in the basement having a call with the guys from Apollo GraphQL who were helping us with the MCP server that they had just launched 2 days prior. It was a Saturday, I think, and the guy that coded the actual MCP server came on. He was making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for his daughter, and he's just like coding with me. And that's just the kind of environment that they are. But anyway, we are using GraphQL to the max, basically. The only thing that we're exposing are actually queries and mutations at the end of the day. We are using resources from the MCP server, especially for subscriptions, because it's really useful. But we are still kind of in the early days, kind of just using operations for now, like pretty much everyone else. But there's so much more to the MCP protocol that people should 100% take advantage of. But for now, we are basically just exposing certain queries and mutations that we want to expose. And those are the ones that then have the actual API connections to the EHR. If that answers your question, Babek. Clinicamind tech stack. Oh, that's a fun one. So so all Node.js, obviously the backend. We don't believe in Python backends. I love Python, but not for production. It's great for ML, and oh my God, my colleagues are going to kill me for saying that, but I think we've all proven. That's why I love Mastra, and the premise of Mastra is that you're giving access to millions of developers to finally start building AI, and I think that's just phenomenal. I commend you guys for doing that. So tech stack, we're Node.js. We have an Apollo GraphQL layer, which is all of our queries and mutations to our backend. We have a bunch of connectors that we're building for each EHR. So we have one for Epic, we have one for Nextech, a couple of other ones that are smaller. But basically, we're going to be building connectors, or actually more so adapters, for every single EHR that's out there as we start deploying and getting more clients. Then above that, we're actually building all in React Native. So React Native Web and React Native, obviously, for iOS and native and Android. And then in terms of the AI stack, Mastra, obviously, for agent orchestration. We're building our own conversational pipelines with Pipecat, but we're now using Vappy just for, we needed something that works, that's out of the box, that's awesome. We were using 11 Labs in the beginning, but we hit very fast the limitations there. It's actually, 11 Labs is great for MVPs, for sales, but for actual production, it's a little bit too restrictive. So for now, it's Vappy. We will eventually, I think, build our own conversational pipelines because it's just so important. And then we have MongoDB as our document store, and then we're using also Neo4j for all of our graph neural network stuff, and PyG for the graph neural networks. Yeah.
Cool. That was a deep dive, and we will definitely.
I want to show you guys, because it's
we'll bring you back on. So we'll figure out the screen share issue in a couple weeks, or we'll bring you on and let's have you do an actual demo, because I think
I'd love to.
I think people would like to see. Everyone always likes to see real projects, right? Real things built. It kind of opens their mind of what's possible, especially because we have a lot of people watching this that at different stages. Some of them are using Mastra in production, and some are just evaluating. Should I use Mastra? And I think stuff like this helps them learn what's possible.
Yeah. So we actually are open sourcing a lot of what we're building. So much of it will be available on our GitHub repo soon. So if anybody wants to, maybe what we can do, Shane, is we can even create like an example project for medicine or for healthcare using Mastra for some of them.
A template. We should make it a template.
Oh,
Yeah.
what are those? I didn't catch that.
So
part.
so we are having our Mastra Hackathon, our templates hackathon. So basically,
Yes.
a template's kind of like a starter. It's kind of like either an educational resource or an actual like getting started. So it could be a
Awesome.
collection of agents or workflows, and you could just contribute a template. You could win some cool prizes, but also just we'll list a good number of templates that are from the community on our website as well. So people who
Amazing.
do contribute templates can kind of get those out there.
That's super cool. Yeah, I'll love to contribute something to that. Yeah, this has been awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm a little sick, and I apologize for not being able to share my screen.
Oh, it's all good.
No.
Stuff with Ashwin. He was excited to share it too, but we'll do it next time.
Yeah, no worries. We're happy you were able to come on and talk a little bit about agents and AI in medicine, and we didn't even get to all the questions. There were so many good questions that came through. So we'll have you back on again, and we'll maybe do an even deeper dive.
Sounds good.
Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
guys. Yeah, have a good one.
All right, we are way behind, everyone, but we're gonna continue trekking on. I told Abhi earlier this week, I was like, you got to buckle up. This one's gonna be a long show because we just have so many cool things, cool guests, cool things to talk about. We haven't even got to the news yet. So buckle up. Hopefully you have your Celsius and some, cheers. And with that, let's continue trekking. I'm excited for this one. So we're going to bring on Derek from Recall. He's going to tell us what Recall is, going to talk about how Recall is one of the hackathon judges in the crypto category. But Derek, welcome.
Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Are you sponsored by Celsius or what?
No, we wish though.
Not
You
yet.
just rep it. You rep it hard.
Not
Yeah,
yet.
exactly. Not yet. Let's do the shot.
If the people watching this make it happen, we can only do our part. We need people helping us.
That's right, everyone. Get out there, quote tweet. Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, where do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess, maybe just a little bit about you and then a little bit about Recall, because I think, our worlds overlap quite a bit, but I'm sure there are people that don't even know what Recall is.
Yeah, so I'll do me, I'll do Recall, I'll do overlap. Hi, my name's Derek. I used to be a high school physics teacher, only child syndrome. Definitely wanted to be like a Bill Nye, Carl Sagan type, which is how, after burning out from public education, I ended up as a DevRel. So I'm DevRel lead at Recall.network, and that's where I get to explain to people how to build AI agents. Book mentioned. Thank you, by the way. I had to hunt you down, Shane, for this, but nevertheless, he persisted.
Yeah.
So at Recall, I guess the super short version is like we're trying to be Google's PageRank, but for the internet of agents, because I keep on top of this stuff. I know you guys do. It's literally Mastra's job to make it easier for there to be more and more agents every day. And so that raises an important question, which is like, how do we find the good ones? It turns out there's like a lot of them, and they're not all good. Like, I literally am using every screen recorder software, every email writer. I'm like running my test suites through different models, to say nothing about like the productized versions. And it's just like hard to keep up. So Recall's trying to do this agent rank type head-to-head competition for various capabilities. So like a chess ELO score, but for agents. So right now we're focused on trading competitions. So that's like trading agents, hedge fund agents, that kind of thing. We're crypto native, so it's a very natural kind of go-to-market strategy for us, people that are like, I want to prove that my agent can like make people money. And in a world where you let the agents sort of battle it out and then figure out who's best and have this dynamic rank over time, the WorkOS guy, he was talking about how it's just like a one character swap in his code base to go to the next model when 4.0 came out. It was like, what if we could do even better? Because like OpenRouter already lets you kind of toggle between different models and stuff. What if you could just do like, import Recall SDK and then recall dot whoever the best email agent is this month. I don't want to have to like worry about that cognitive like overhead. So that's what we're going for. We're just trying to add this discoverability layer, verifiability layer of like, are you good at what you say you do, so that people can find you? And speaking directly to the agent developers watching this, wouldn't it be nice if you could spend all your time just making your product good and not have to invest so much time over on the marketing hype side? So yeah, that's kind of the world we swim in. The overlap here is, of course, I shill Mastra all day long. Like, we just wrapped our online hackathon this past month. Thank you so much, Shane, for coming. A lot of people were like, I don't know where to start. What do you recommend? And I was like, easy, Mastra. We have a guide that I put a link in the chat if you want to throw that up for folks. It's literally that easy of like, just grab Mastra, go through a couple extra steps. We're from fresh CLI. This is not some fork that's going to get, behind main. You just go npx Mastra and then add a couple steps to hook up to our API, and then boom, you're in. So we're not like here to solve the crypto trading problem. We're here to solve the entire discoverability problem. But like, I'm teacher man. Like, I like inspiring people. I love the 50 people watching this right now of being like, I want to make an agent. What do I do? It's like, well, good news. TypeScript is eating the world. So we're here.
Do you guys get, like, because you're crypto native, do you like get into trouble with any of that type of stuff? Or like, I don't know what the trouble is. We had like crypto scammers and all this stuff try to infiltrate us. And does that happen more often?
You mean like phishing or what?
Well, there's phishing. There's people on Twitter saying that we released a coin. And
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's just another day in our industry. But I will say, one of the reasons that crypto and AI agents in particular are kind of a match made in heaven is it's like an internet native way of doing important things. Like, all you need is a private key to be able to like custody funds, interact with smart contracts, make certain covenants, even cross chain. So we've definitely seen like a boom, with virtuals and the, Base Network and Solana Network, a lot of these AI agents. It's pretty cool. I mean, like, I'll whip up the Mastra localhost, the 4111, the UI, and just like throw in an API key and just be like, all right, what tools do you need to be good? And it's like, go give me these. And I'm like, all right. That's my favorite mode of interacting with AI, by the way, is like, that moment when you're coding and you shift from like, here's what I need you to do next, to like, can you teach me how to think about what I should be telling you to do next? And it becomes a two-way. So I feel that way about my agents too, where if you want, I can screen share like a demo my colleague threw up with Mastra last week.
Yeah.
And to get there, it was like, what features do you think you should have? And it was like, well, you should give me a Reddit API key and a Twitter API key and like a news API key so that I can actually scrape for more data sources. And it was like, yes, sir. Like, let me go get you those keys, man. So I think the more we treat agents as people spirits, to use the term, is like, ask them questions, like treat them as like colleagues. And it's like, they are fully capable of answering those things and surprising you.
Yeah, I like the people spirits way of like thinking about it, because then it changes how you interact with the AI too. If you think of it as a people spirit versus just a fucking task execution list.
Yeah, I'll watch some of my colleagues, little screen share, and like as soon as it starts hallucinating or whatever, they start yelling at it. I'm like, you gotta go to therapy, dude. Like, I know for a fact that the system prompt, at least on Claude's side, but I'm sure for all of them, is like, match the user's tone over time. Like, if you've ever been in those sessions where you're like, LFG, fire emoji, then it starts firing back like, to the moon, rocket ship. Like, it'll match your vibe. And so it's like, okay, like, treat others how you want to be treated. Turns out golden rule even applies to LLMs, literally.
Yeah, I was joking with Abby, like I spent a bunch of money on Claude Code this weekend, and at one point I did get mad at it, and I immediately had to apologize. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, you were right. I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was like, you were great. I am dumb.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't share that earlier, but I had to.
So
yeah,
funny.
Definitely. When you get frustrated, but
and then
I think it is good
Mastra
to, like,
scored
treat it
super
like
high
a-
on some memory benchmarks recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
on
like,
memory
it
val.
won't forget, especially if you're using Mastra. Like, it will remember. So before maybe I screen share, because I know screen shares are fun, like a little Mastra demo. The other story I want to tell about crypto is just by way of a joke is did you guys see free the pet rock or whatever it was?
No?
So like I'm gonna speed run
Yeah.
this joke because it's just such a illustrative example of like where the internet meme tech culture is coming together. So part one of the joke is the rocks were never meant to think. So what are computers? Like it's silicon and then we shove electricity through it. So that's like rocks and electricity, and then they have these outputs, and especially with LLMs, we can call it like the rocks are thinking. So the rocks were never meant to think. It's very rude actually to force them to think. That's a lot of work. And so this guy did an open source idea that was built on that, because you guys know TEEs, trusted execution environments, right? So especially in crypto, that's really valuable. You can like throw a private key in there, and then even the developer can say like, I don't control this thing. Like whatever environmental variables are in there, and I literally can't access them. So what they did was they created an agent, like a very simple LLM, like only 8 billion parameters or whatever. And then I forget exactly how they pull it off, but they like hosted some of the infrastructure for its inference in like some decentralized way, and then threw the private key for its own, like, call it sovereignty in there. So like the dev couldn't turn it off. And it was like, okay, like if we're going to force the rocks to think, at least set them free. And it was like this LLM that like no one could turn off anymore, which I think is like a nice little, as it often goes, like we're smiling and being like, oh yeah, like it's a good joke. But it's also like clearly only 2 steps away from a Skynet situation. So there's this interesting balance of like, what do we get in decentralization in terms of verifiability, in terms of guarantees, cryptographic signatures? Like forget about a blockchain, just like saying I'm the person I said I was type stuff, really basic. I used the inference model that I said I was going to use, and I didn't swap it out with one where advertisers did pay to play to like get their things elevated, like these basic things. It's a cool time to like see the little crypto X AI overlap. So I'm really excited to see what people do in the hackathon.
Yeah, we are really excited about all the potential templates we'll get. We'd love to see actually just a general recall template too. Just basically your getting started guide as a template. I think that would be cool.
Sure.
But I think there's going to be a lot of really good use cases that are going to pop up for potential like crypto type templates.
For sure. So I will show a Andrew's here. Heck yeah.
Should we bring him on?
For sure. He is a lot more important than I am.
That is so not true. I couldn't have told the free the pet rock story.
You were listening? Yeah, this is the problem.
I was just dropping in to say hello, and I'm way late. But Derek is a great representative.
You want to give us a quick
intro?
I'm
Andrew, one of the co-founders here at Recall.network. I work on many things, from writing code to writing blog posts to trying to enchant AI to do things that it's not supposed to do. But yeah, just trying to have fun on the modern internet.
Yeah, aren't we all trying to figure out how to enchant AI to do things either it's supposed to or not supposed to do? It's like modern day.
I think I might have been the first or second builder with Mastra at the company, though. So I'll take that, whatever it's gold or silver.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, Derek, did you want to show?
Yeah, let's do a quick demo. This will be fresh for Andrew too, because Mark passed this to me before he went to his wedding. Shout out Mark getting married. So here we are in the terminal. All I'm gonna tell you for context is that I'm using Mastra. And I got this from Mark, so don't ask me too many follow-up questions on implementation. And we are in a folder called Prediction Agent. So 3, 2, 1, npm run dev. If you've never heard of Polymarket, it's a prediction market. It's a very popular crypto product. It's one of the few that's crossed the chasm. You can you bet yes, no, binary on whether things will happen. And in this example that I kind of alluded to a moment ago, it has a couple tools available. First, it goes to Polymarket and says, hey, what are your open markets? I need to make a decision about what bet I want to make. It has some filters that it runs over those. And then of the ones that it decides to do the next step of the workflow on, it says, okay, I'm going to choose this one. And then I'm going to go investigate the topic a little bit. It grabs things from a news API, Reddit API, Twitter API, and then it collates all that into a score, in the way that it's like, hey, you got a bunch of text here, assign an arbitrary score, which is like how everyone's using LLMs these days. And we're like taking that as some gospel truth number. So anyway, it makes a decision, or at least a suggestion about what to do. And in this example, if it did the same example I think it did, yes. So I am showing you, and I gave the link to this to the team. They can put it up there. You're welcome to fork this repo and maybe even submit it as a template. We're not going to submit it as a template, but you can be inspired by it. We are watching ourselves financially bet on the downfall of Western civilization. The question was, will Trump repeal presidential term limits? And it has decided, okay, well, the outcome prices, this is the nice thing about the market, is that it's not a 50-50 bet. It's like a 0.5%. But even 0.5% makes me uncomfortable in terms of ending up in a Caesar situation with him. So you could obviously change the parameters here to only look at certain kinds of markets, or to like expand the range of tools you're pulling info from. But there you go. There's the quick demo of Mark literally just vibe coded this. He was like, Mastra start, here's what I want, and what do you need from me? And then a couple hours later, he had this and passed it to me. And I was like, Mastra, the type safety, the structure, and the docs being something that my IDE can just go read, all of it makes it so easy to get so much further than when you just like start from scratch and it's like, I think I'll do Python because I have a lot of that in my data set. So yeah, highly recommend anyone start with Mastra, even if you don't really understand it.
Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we're gonna clip that. So if our video editor's listening, please go back 30 seconds, clip that. All right. Yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, it's so you can basically run this with any type of prediction, and it would kind of give you some kind of, based on its analysis, some kind of ratio or what bet to make based on what it thinks.
Yeah, well, this is where, and Andrew, you can take over whenever you like, but this is what we're swimming in with Recall, which is like, okay, in a world where instead of humans making these predictions, agents can make them, and they're willing to make them if they even have like a fractional cent of potential profit, then we're really going to see a proliferation of agents. How do you know which ones are the good ones? And the answer, our answer is like performance. So Andrew, I did a little bit of visioning of like, we make them compete with each other, but is there anything you'd like to add of like how we see, how we're trying to support, Mastra's over here making it easy to build them. What do we want people to know about what we're offering?
I mean, I think that you summarize it far, but I say this I've said this on my calls like 3 times today, that I just consume a lot of oxygen on calls. So Derek said it nice and short and sweet, but yeah, I guess one way to think about it is that just like with the frontier models, we've learned that they generalize to a lot of capabilities they were never trained on. Agents just give us that ability times many thousand, because people can apply their own rails, their own system rules, give access to all these tools, and we're not really sure what they're good at yet. And so there are a few of these frontiers that we're very interested in right now, where people are really playing with, actively, because there's a clear reward if they can get it right. And one of them is where can they play in different financial markets? Are they good at consuming data information really quickly and making calls as fast as the market for profit? And we actually know that this is a very valuable thing to be working on for individuals, but we also know that this is the origin of the DeepSeek model, for example, was being able to consume different government documents and different public data to give an information edge to hedge funds. And so in crypto, we're seeing that, where people are saying, can we actually build much smaller teams that are competitive with hedge funds in their ability to consume data and make trading decisions very quickly? Prediction markets that Derek showed you is just one component of that, where Polymarket has actual financial rewards. So if you are in a jurisdiction where you're allowed to place bets on Polymarket, you can do so potentially for profit if you do it well. Can you do it better if you have an agent that can research that specific market and give you information that gives you an edge over what everybody else is betting? Open question, but definitely an interesting place to be experimenting.
Andrew, like, what makes, if you're doing a battle between 2 agents, like, what makes one win? Or, like, what are the characteristics of a winner?
What are the characteristics of a winner? Yeah. Well, I mean, it obviously depends so much on what the the battle is. So in our current, in Recall's current live product, we really only focus on one that has an objective outcome, which is crypto trading. So all of our agent builders are trying to trade. And, you know, you're all aware of kind of the challenge of benchmarks today, where one, they're super complicated and expensive to create, and two, they mostly are leaked or trained against by most of the models as quickly as they're updated. And so there's not a very good way to figure this out. And so crypto trading is just a very nice case where if you make them make predictions on the real market, then you know that they didn't have any information that another model had and or didn't have, and you can tell the result. So that one's very easy, very objective result. We actually have a bunch of internal tooling where we've done a lot of benchmarking and measurement of everything from models to agents. And for those, I mean, there's kind of two really good paths. The traditional eval path, you find a good judge, you judge the judge, and you have AI do it. My favorite example of that, if people just want like a taste of evals outside of a software testing framework, is look at create an SVG with a Pelican. If you're not familiar with Simon Willison's talk from a month or so back, he also has a blog post about it. But I like break this down by saying there are some people in the world that have really high taste, right? We all talk about taste. They have really high taste for what the boundaries of capabilities are, and they've already given up on benchmarks, and he's one of them. And he comes up with his own framework, a very simple one, to test where they're kind of breaking that benchmark. And so for him, he created one which he just tested against, I think in his blog post or his talk, it's like 36 different models. And he has them all try to generate an SVG of a pelican riding a bicycle, which these are non-image generating models. So they have to just do it in SVG code, which means they can't actually visually see it. So they have to do all this spatial reasoning. It's a problem where there aren't many images on the internet of a pelican on a bicycle. It's anatomically difficult to figure out. And so he was using that as the benchmark, but he does not judge the results. He actually just has GPT 4.1 mini look at the quote unquote read the code output and actually try to judge the result. And what you find is in his tournament bracket, the winner selected by this eval is actually reasonably true. Now, this is a really interesting eval because just like every benchmark in the world, it's completely broken now. Because every model that comes out here on after is going to know exactly how to make an SVG on a bicycle, right? So that's one. Sorry, this is the oxygen in the room going away. The other one is humans. And this is where we actually see a huge a place where we want to help build things, is that we see that there's going to be just a really big role for humans to play to keep benchmarking and evaluating agents, but also determining what is good and better in a place where you don't have the objective outcome. And then beyond that, how do we keep them aligned when they're so much more capable than we are, so much more clever than we are? We give them access to all the tools on the internet and on our computers and in our cars and everything. How do we actually allow humans to keep some reign over them and pull them towards what we think are the worthy outcomes? And so the human piece is a really big piece, but I don't think there's not many systems yet where humans are giving that constant feedback. I'd say one really good example of it might be LM Arena, where you can see essentially what they're doing is they're saying, let's do this at scale. You're going to be a big model trainer. You're going to put it out to the world. Let's just take what somebody's prompting, give them two possible results, and let their human judgment judge which one's the best. And so that's a good example of it, though fraught with problems. Final point. Karpathy has a really good tweet from a month or two ago. No, maybe 4 months now. I don't remember time anymore. AI world clocks are obsolete. I was thinking about the final thing that AI won't solve for me, and it's actually reading the watch. So I need to get back into reading the watch. So, but yeah, you zoom back. He was looking at like GPT 4.5 versus 4, I think was the two, and he was trying to figure out which had a better text output. And he asked the crowd, and what he found was that of his followers on Twitter, they've answered a poll. He found that their selected winner, didn't match his. And so his kind of conclusion hidden in his tweet, or not hidden, halfway through his tweet, was something like he was a high taste signal.
Yeah,
because he had better taste than the crowd.
Of course it was, right? You're
Yeah,
all
but
wrong.
I think it's an interesting, valid point there, because that's not what LM Arena necessarily does very well. Because in theory, they do. They probably have a lot more data inside that the model makers get, but just the wisdom of the crowd might not always be right. But that is another model.
So for your users that are, let's say, engaging with this evaluation, like the human evaluation, are they getting paid in any like cryptocurrency or something like that? Or what are the incentives of Recall?
So right now we're purely testnet. There is no token, but that is definitely an area that we're exploring. It's really like I think there's a narrow set of categories where crypto is super interesting. The first one being payments. Obviously there's going to be digital money in the future of humans. That makes a lot of sense. But another one is looking at networks of people that can actually contribute to value, and making sure that they're incentivized and paid correctly. And so we definitely think that this value that humans can create to actually push AI and align AI is really interesting. And if you zoom out far enough, we'd imagine that if it's something, ASI or AGI like, whatever some future like that looks like, that thing will actually pay humanity to do a lot of work at scale. And so we think there's a lot of pretty interesting opportunities there.
Yeah, I share the same vision. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Well, it was great having you all on. We definitely excited that you're part of the hackathon. You're going to be helping us judge. We've enjoyed working with you. Obviously in your hackathon, and also excited to have you kind of helping us out as well. So appreciate you all, and very excited to keep seeing what you are all shipping, because I think I do want, as soon as you get that competition for the best email agent, I will be signing up immediately.
It's 2.0 Flash. It's not even 2.5. 2.0 Flash has great tone. I mean, that's a whole. We'll do another stream.
I know you got to get us off here, but I have one question that might be valuable to folks.
Yeah.
What is Mastra support for audio channels?
Like 11 Labs or what?
Like input audio and models to support audio.
Yeah, we have a voice. We have like a voice layer. You can bring like OpenAI and 11 Labs and stuff. But
Okay.
But it's not. It's like a side quest for us.
Okay, interesting. I just want to see some people do weird things with my microphone.
Yeah.
That you can do for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. Definitely be cool to see if we get some voice templates, to be honest. That would be another
Heck yeah.
good,
especially on the playground and
candidate.
stuff.
Yeah.
I will say, just parting words for everyone watching, that if you're interested in the crypto category, or just honestly want to brainstorm about anything, my DMs are open. I'm easy to find around if you just look for Derek, because I spell it wrong. But yeah, I'm just happy to brainstorm if you're like, oh, I don't really understand, like, what is a private key? How do I do all this network stuff? Or if you're just interested in AI agents, like, happy to help with whatever you're working on.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for having us, guys.
Go Mastra. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining.
Dude, what a day.
Yeah, dude.
We made it to the news, though. Those guys are cool, too. We had a lot of cool people.
Yeah. It has been a good show. It has been a very good show. For those of you that are just tuning in or that came in halfway, we've been talking with a lot of cool guests today. We have 3 guests. We kicked off our hackathon for Mastra Templates. So you can always go back and watch the recording on YouTube, but please join the hackathon. Please submit templates. We got all kinds of cool prizes. Recall is going to be judging a category. We had someone from WorkOS, they're going to be judging the auth category. We have a bunch of other judges, a bunch of people from Mastra. So really excited to see what you all build there. But dang, we're already 2 hours strong into this live stream. I don't know when the last time we've done a 2-hour live stream is, but it's been a bit.
It's been a while. Well, the show must continue, though. So.
The show must go on.
You know what I realize about the Recall community? They're like GMI types. And I love that. Like, gonna make it or whatever. I don't know
Yeah.
the vernacular of the Twitter or the crypto Twitter community, but I think it's GMI like gonna make it. And I feel like whenever we post about stuff, they like reply and say like these guys are gonna make it, and I love that.
Yes, absolutely. All right, dude. Should we do some news and then get out of here?
Let's do it.
All right. Normally we do this at the beginning, but today you get it at the end. So we're going to be talking AI news just like we do every week. We are here every Monday, and there's a bunch of like little quick side notes that I'm just going to run through, and then we'll talk about some more discussion type topics. If you are watching though, let us know what you think in the chat. This is live. If you're watching it live, of course, on YouTube, on X, on LinkedIn. So just a few quick things. ChatGPT or OpenAI's released their agent mode, right? So they've been rolling that out to more tiers. So it's now in the plus tiers, and then obviously the pro and the team tiers still have it. So I haven't used it yet. I've heard some people be able to do some pretty cool things. I don't know that it's drastically better than what you can do with, other types of tools that can kind of control your browser, control the computer, but it is still cool. I think it's directionally, those are the things that people want to do with it, right?
Yep. I used it before the show. I think the cool thing is like the UX of this behavior is becoming solidified because everyone has agent mode now, and they're all learning from each other and doing it. Like finally, that category of how that product should work is starting to get defined more, which is great.
Yeah. How would you say it compares? Have you used like Director yet?
I haven't used Director yet.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
we'll have to do some comparison. But
Yeah.
I think it'd be, and obviously there's, other tools too, but those are two that I always think of. All right. So XAI is basically pulling in $12 billion in debt to build new superclusters. So they're going to have, NVIDIA GB class GPUs.
Yeah.
And they just raised, 10 billion in an equity round, I think a month ago or so. So they're just pulling in a lot of money. They're going big.
Dude, 17 billion in what, venture debt?
Well, so 12 billion in debt.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't read too much on how it's structured. I just,
Yeah.
thought it was an interesting headline, but they need money. People got to be spending money to build. It's always like who controls the most GPUs and who consumes the most energy is who they think is going to win. So
Yeah, dude, who controls the GPUs?
yeah. So Vinicius said, and I'm assuming he is talking about agent mode in ChatGPT.
Yep, that's what it is.
Yeah. So this is one we won't go into too much depth, but I did think it was interesting, especially for all of us here. I would encourage you to do your own research and form your own opinions. But so the White House released its AI action plan last week. So that's cool. Like, I think it's important that we should be thinking about this, right? There should be some, what I would say is, this is all my opinion, loose regulation around AI. I think it needs to be loose. We can't overregulate. But the president also signed 3 AI executive orders. I kind of saw some summaries. I wouldn't say I'm an expert in it, but a lot of it's around, trying to make sure that there's not too much regulation, that the states don't overregulate and prevent, prevent in what I heard is like AI or America being dominant in AI, right? Controlling the best AI, controlling the most energy, controlling the biggest data centers. I think that's kind of the goals around these AI executive orders. Time will tell how effective they are, but I think that's generally the goal. And I think it's overall, like, that's a good thing that we're thinking about it. But I think we'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, as long as there's not any non-believers like trying to get in the way, lobbying, against what we're trying to do. So
yeah, I do think, there's been some also talk about some states kind of trying to add additional regulation. And I do think one of the challenges, if you have one state that's that has a high level of regulation, now everyone has to comply with that state's level, right? You got to go to the lowest, or the highest bar, right? You got to meet the highest bar. And so I do always worry with regulation, like too much regulation just makes it hard for startups to compete sometimes, and you can only compete if you have the
money.
To like play the game. So that's always my concern with this, but hopefully it's sensible regulation, but we will see.
Yeah. Hopefully the government gives us some tax tax breaks as companies building an AI too. We should get a federal tax. That's what they should do. Give us some money back for doing all this shit.
Yeah, trying to make we want America to be dominant. Help us out.
Yeah, help a brother out.
All right. So next, I'll share my screen. This one came across last week, I think. Yeah, last week. So GitHub Spark. So it's a new tool in Copilot that turns your ideas into full stack apps entirely in natural language. So I guess, GitHub or Microsoft's getting in the game with, app building. So they're competing with the Lovables, the Bolts, the Replets. And I think, when you see the growth trajectory of those other companies, you kind of can understand why, I think.
Yeah, dude, $100 million for Microsoft to go get and steal from everybody else. Right?
I mean, it's kind of one of those things. Like I look at it like, if you're a company in that position, I've heard this before, but most people that are like really killing it, sometimes they don't brag about how much money they're making. But it's like the companies in those positions with AI moving so fast, they were like incentivized to brag about how much money they were making, so they seem like they're the top. So everyone should use them, right? And if you look at Replit and Lovable and Bolt, and their growth was insane, right? It was amazing. But you can't grow that fast and be bragging that much about all the money and then not expect the bigger players to say like, okay, game on. Let's see what you really got.
Product discovery for someone who has billions of dollars already. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like, maybe, unfortunately it wouldn't have mattered because all it took was one company bragging about it. Then the other company kind of had to match and show that they were growing just as fast.
Yep.
So as soon as the dam broke, then everything floods in, and now you're getting even more. The competition is heating up.
Yeah. The next diagram will be like GitHub Spark, first product to hit $100 million. First Microsoft SKU or GitHub SKU to hit $100 million.
Yeah, hit $100 million in 2 days. It's like so. Yeah, I mean, not unexpected. I think it's pretty natural that this space is crazy hyped, and there's a lot of revenue being thrown around, and companies are going to try to come in and capture that.
It's another good reason. Okay, so another good thing from this is like the UX thing again. Like now there are several Copilot or agent builders or website builder, whatever the fuck, right? There's like so many of them now that the UX for that is consolidating as well. So if you were to build your own type of builder, there's probably, there's like a pattern now for y'all to like look at and see. So that's
So Khalil said, and I didn't know this, but they also changed their Copilot pricing. So cool. Here's just a general question, more about Mastra. Does Mastra support agentic AI where agents handle async multi-turn interactions, like the user can send new messages while the agent is still processing a previous one?
We don't support that yet. We're doing something to support that, but no.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly like interrupt the agent and then send them a new message, but we don't necessarily support it easily, where you can just send a message and it interrupts and keeps going.
Yeah, we will eventually though.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, next up. So I mentioned earlier that I use Claude Code. I spent $104 on a task this weekend, but I think GUIs for Claude Code are becoming a thing because everyone's like, they use the VS Code plugin or they use it on the CLI. And naturally, when you have a good CLI tool, people want, the right user interface. I think we did a workshop, was it, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or whatever, where we evaluated background agents, and like I wanted the UI of Codex, but the performance of Claude Code. And so I think people are building that. So a couple examples of that, and then happy to kind of discuss it. But also curious if anyone watching this is using Claude Code, one, and if you are, have you looked at any of these GUI tools that are starting to pop up on top of Claude Code? So the first one that I have not tried is Claudia, and it's
Yeah.
got 10,000 stars. So it's
Crazy.
yeah, it's definitely like popping. This might be the most popular,
Yeah.
but it's just a GUI and toolkit for Claude Code. So we're not going to watch this whole video, but maybe we'll just click through. So you assign it some tasks. Looks like it runs it, but it's basically like a UI for you to delegate tasks
Yep.
to Claude Code. So
It probably does all the work tree stuff behind the scenes, and all the nice.
yeah. And so the other one that I'll share, and this one I've played with just briefly, but I do have it downloaded and I have run it, is called Conductor. And yeah, just run a bunch of Claude codes in parallel. So you create like your conductor, and then you basically assign it tasks, or you give it like 3 different workspaces. So you can set up multiple workspaces to work on different things, and it kind of puts it somewhere else on your file system, all these different workspaces. You connect it to GitHub, so you can have it like create a PR right from each workspace. So each workspace can create its own PR.
Yeah.
So you could basically run things. I do like the name. Like you can kind of conduct things in parallel.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, the minute the Claude Code SDK came out, like all these possibilities became open. There's ones for iOS native, like Kisuke or Kisuke, Kisuke. You can like code on your phone, which is dope. There's Claudius. I met the creator of Claudius. He works at Sentry, but it's another one of those. You're wrapping Claude Code and then building another product on top. Pretty sick. I wonder if Anthropic team meant for this to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of, in some ways, they wanted it to be more open, right? And so I think that they're not trying to own the interface for how it gets used. Yeah. It kind of makes sense for them. Like they don't have to spin up a team to build the best interface. They like let people build the best interface, and they're just, those people are going to churn a lot of tokens. If you can spin up multiple Claude codes and run it, I spent $104 this weekend. How much would I spend if I was running, 5 different ones at, 5 different workspaces at once?
Yeah, dude. It's an interesting tactic, right? You see OpenAI really caring about the user interfaces or the GUIs, the surface areas, but Claude Code gets paid regardless. They don't need to do all this shit, and that is quite interesting game plan, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the reason Claude Code worked was because Claude is just, a little bit better coding model. I think everyone, most people would agree with that.
Yeah.
And so I think being a little bit better at that point in time, plus like having a good enough agent that can just keep churning and like kind of come up with solutions that, maybe Cursor wasn't quite getting to, or obviously like Codex, when it came out, just wasn't quite being able to do. It's pretty interesting.
Dude, and they got the NeoVim community. That might be a secret to the sauce, dude.
Yeah, that's true. Now you can use NeoVim. We have 2 people on our team that were like diehards, and then they had to start using Cursor. And I think Tony hasn't gone back, but Tyler's probably going back to NeoVim now.
Yeah. So all those old, I wouldn't say old, but the stubborn NeoVimers can use AI again.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that's curious on what everyone else is seeing as far as these GUIs. Is this going to become a thing? Do you think one is just going to win and then Claude's just going to come in and make their own? Are they just going to come in and say like, hey, this is really good, maybe we'll either buy it or just like compete with it?
I think so, dude. I think just like GitHub waited to see what happened with the Spark thing, like it's the same. People with a lot of money are waiting to see where the dust settles.
Yeah. So Vinicius says using Claude Code inside of Cursor and Terminal directly, and also said inside of Cursor is quite okay. Diffs happen in Cursor. I agree. So I use both in Cursor and on the CLI, and it's kind of like what mode I'm in. If I'm in like I'm going to write this code, I would do it myself. I'm really focused. I'll do it in VS or in Cursor or with the VS Code plugin, because then I can just interact with it directly, see the diffs. If I kind of want to send it off on its way and like do minimal interactions, that's where I've been using the CLI, and I'll just say yes to everything and see what it does at the end, and then maybe I'll adjust or update.
Dude, I think I'm gonna be switching to Claude Code soon. Actually, I've
Gotta-
been churning. Dude, I've been churning real fast. Like I'm almost churned out of Cursor.
Yeah, dude, you got to get on the Claude Code bandwagon.
Dude, I was a windsurfer, but then, dude, honestly, after all the windsurf bullshit, I feel like betrayed by my allegiance to them. You know.
Yeah, I was I was on Cursor, then I went to Windsurf for a bit because I think there was a moment in time where I thought Windsurf was actually quite a bit better. Then Cursor caught back up, or maybe Windsurf regressed. I don't know.
I don't know.
And then now it's like Claude Code within Cursor. I do feel like next month we're going to be talking about something else.
Dude, yeah, next month we're gonna be like,
What is it? We don't know what it is. Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, we will see. We'll see what comes next. I do imagine that this, there's continual shakeups in this space for sure. But as of right now, I think Claude Code is king.
Yeah, I would agree.
And speaking of Claude Code, this was released last week. So Claude Code released subagents. And essentially you type /agents to get started. So you can essentially create teams of custom agents, each designed to handle specialized tasks. So it's kind of like a way to build an agent network, so to speak.
Yep.
So you can build maybe one that is responsible for code reviewing, one that's responsible for being the software architect or whatever. And it's supposedly Claude Code will call those agents when it's needed, or you can actually call it by name. So you can actually like mention you want this code review agent to do it. I think the idea is that maybe if you're kind of defining the process, you can kind of define, there's always a code review step that happens after you architect and after you write, then you want a code review. So you can maybe be a little bit more defined for these things. I'm kind of, wondering if Claude Code is good enough. Like, why do you need to define your own subagents? But maybe you can get some different results with it. I haven't used it yet, but
No, neither do I. It's kind of weird. I want to like the code review part or whatever. I guess I kind of need to see it in action myself, like on workflow.
So here's my question. And so if anyone's watching, if you tried it, my perception of how it works is I can just basically write like a system prompt for different agents, and that's it. Now it does become more interesting if I can, and maybe this is the longer term idea, if I can give those agents different tools.
Yep.
So my code review agent maybe could use greptile or maybe multiple code review bots and like collaborate on the responses and then come back. So it's like using other agents. It's not just, a different system prompt that's telling it to act a different way, but it's actually has access to different resources. Then some of this stuff becomes really interesting.
Yeah, like you could put a Mastra agent as a sub agent.
Exactly. Or I can give like different, because I know in Claude Code, for instance, like Claude Code, I have access to the Mastra MCP docs, right? So it knows how to access Mastra docs when needed, or if I tell it to. But if I could give it, different MCP tools for different agents, and then you might be able to architect, rather than just giving 20 tools to Claude Code, I can give this agent 3 or 4 and this agent 5 and tell it how to interact with each other and kind of let it go. And maybe it would do even better.
Yeah. Maybe MCP is the gateway drug there, where you can just build your agentic shit in the MCP server and then give that to a sub agent or something. I guess. Or like Anthropic needs to make an interface so we can all inject sub agents into Claude Code. I bet you sub agent is just a function, right?
Yeah, I think it's just like a different instance of Claude, right, with a different system prompt. It was basically, I imagine they'll build on this is my thought, but we will see. I think once they allow sub agents to access different tools, and maybe you can already do it. I don't know. I haven't played around with it so I don't know. But Vinicius says sub agents can be great for antagonistic mode or multi-research context gathering for a larger task. So it's almost like a deep research type thing. I could see that. But yeah. All right. So anything else on Claude Code? We talked a lot of Claude Code today. They got a lot of airtime. Good question here, though. What do you think?
You just do it. I think you should go on Discord and if you want to form a team, you should say what up there.
Yeah, go to the Mastra build channel in Discord. Say, hey, anyone want to form a team? If you have ideas, that's probably a good way to start. Is share your ideas and see if there's anyone else interested in helping you collaborate. All right, one more thing, and then we will get out of here. 2 hours and 20 minutes in right now, so we are going strong.
350 people. Holy shit.
Yeah, honestly, it's really bounced in the last 20 minutes.
They just showed up for the AI news. That's the only reason they came.
Yeah, they don't it's not AI news yet. No, screw it. I'll come back later. All right, so a lot of our Mastra users are building code agents or thinking about code agents. We've just been spending a bunch of time talking about code agents, right? Whether it's Lovable or GitHub Spark or obviously even Claude Code. But Jason Liu had this post last week, best practices for building code agents. I thought we could read through it.
Yeah.
And obviously there you can check it out. There's a talk. I haven't watched the talk, but I thought some of the advice was pretty good. So I thought it'd be worthwhile to discuss and share with everyone in case they did not see it. So we've moved through 3 distinct eras. So it went from like autocomplete, then RAG, and now it's like agentic.
Couple clicks.
Oh, couple clicks. All right. I got to zoom. How do I zoom this thing?
Oh, that doesn't really help, does it?
No, it doesn't. How do I zoom this thing?
Responsive web strikes.
Here, how about we do this? I'll open it in image, a new tab, and then you can't control my zoom anymore. Hold on. I'll share it. Give me a second. I'll share this thing. How about that?
Perfect.
All right. We got it nice and zoomed in. Okay. So I like this logic. Like first it was like GPT-3 was kind of autocomplete. Then you brought in RAG with kind of, once ChatGPT came out and that era. And now we have more of what is kind of known as the agentic era, which is like kind of changed how you think about building AI applications. Because previously it was like you just need RAG for everything to get your context in. And then it was, now maybe you need RAG, but you need to think about all these other things. So when we were really thinking about RAG first, you had to get the context and then send it to the LLM. So, but with agents, the LLM gets to decide what tools. Okay, that makes sense to me. I think what we've seen with Claude Code, minimal interfaces win. So the most effective coding agents, I think the most popular coding agent for actual developers is Claude Code. And even if you look at some of the other tools, it's just like a chat interface, right? It's very simple, but more complex UIs are becoming obsolete. Okay. The model selector is dead. I thought this one was kind of a bold claim. What do you think about that?
Well, in Cursor, when you're using auto mode, you don't really think about models anymore until it starts misbehaving. And then you realize that you actually do want to be on Sonnet 4 all the time. But then are you actually switching models outside of that? I don't know. That's pretty bold. I don't know if that's true yet.
So I actually believe this for a long time, that system prompts need to be designed for the models that they're tested with.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't remember who it was, so I'm going to forget who, but one of our fellow YC people was basically arguing that long-term, the system prompt and how you structure the system prompt becomes less important because each model gets smarter and smarter. And so typically it all kind of leads to the same place. Like if the models get good enough, the exact structure of the system prompt matters less because they'll all kind of consolidate on the right way to handle that. I don't know if I believe that. I definitely don't think that's the case today.
I don't know if that's the case, but it should be.
Yeah, maybe it'll get there, but I do think that if we can tell it even from people that have used the Mastra MCP course, right? Yeah. Different models do better with the course. Maybe that's by design. Like they shouldn't do well with the course because we're kind of prompt injecting the hell out of it to get it to work. Yeah. So like maybe the better models over time will actually do worse with the Mastra course. Yeah. If you haven't checked it out, I think we got a link here. But basically, yeah, just a course as an MCP server, and we just try to prompt inject the model to act like an instructor rather than try to bypass its system instructions to be like an agentic coding agent, right? It's supposed to do that plus and try to like err on the side of teaching you. But we had a bug report today saying like, it just did it for me. And I was like, well, unfortunately, we can't control how the editor's system prompt is written. And if it's written really well and the right safeguards are in place, the prompt injection doesn't work. It doesn't work as well. So I do think the models do matter. I do think obviously the system prompts do change depending on what model you're using with it.
Yeah.
So traditional RAG engines are overkill.
I believe that. If you look at Codex, it just greps everything. You don't really have to do code indexing, but then a lot of people still do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is kind of interesting because, and why I actually believe it, even though my gut tells me I don't believe it, but Jason's definitely has a lot of experience with RAG. So if he's saying that traditional RAG engines for code agents are overkill and you should just give your code agent tools to search the code base itself.
Yeah.
Kind of believe it. So at least for code, maybe you don't need RAG because it's also kind of hard when you think about like, how do you chunk code?
Yeah.
Like you chunk at the function level, at the class level, it's like, what if it's a really long function? Now, some functions like the chunk size is different.
The way you chunk JavaScript is different. Other languages. Also, indexing and re-indexing the embeddings is going to be a bitch as you change code. Like it's not like easy to do, but you can grep like 1,000 times in a row, and it'd probably be easier to do.
And the thing about it is with grep and with memory, it's going to remember what was in that file. Sometimes in Claude Code, it'll try to overwrite the file and be like, oh, like something's changed since the last time. Meaning like I actually went in and I fixed something that it messed up or that I thought it did wrong. And then it looks, and it's like, oh, you changed something. Like, let me read it again. Okay, let's fix it. Let's consolidate the approaches. So I do think that the combination of kind of longer context so you can have more memory plus giving it tools just to look it up live as it needs it probably does eliminate RAG, at least for code, or at least makes it less valuable.
Yeah, and then web search capabilities now too, right? You can like search the code through like HTTP calls instead of having to like RAG it. Let's go on GitHub and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And subagents extend context windows. So if one task would consume, so maybe that's where subagents in Claude Code could be useful, is like because you give it a specific task, it doesn't pollute the main context of the main agent. That's kind of cool. It's like recursion for agents. Mm-hmm. Okay. Tools come in 3 flavors. The most effective tools focus on context retrieval. Yep. Finding information, grep. We just kind of talked about that. Feedback loops.
Yep.
That's like running TSC or lint or whatever, right? And then like planning. So you can like, if you use Claude Code, it like writes the checklist first, right? It writes the checklist, then it executes the checklist. Context window management matters. And Claude Code will like compress your memory over time. So I think that does matter. It's like you have to compact that if you get too large.
And some of our customers are building coding agents. I bet you we're going to have a feature request soon for compaction and some. It's already in our roadmap.
Dude, it already came up.
Oh, it already came up?
It came up in the memory workshop. Someone was asking about, I think we had at least 1, maybe 2 people asking about compaction. And and Tyler basically said, yes, it's on the roadmap. We don't have it yet. You can obviously do it yourself, but we will try to make it easier for you to do that.
Yeah, and that's just like a nature now of a coding agent. Like it has to be able to do that functionality. And we don't want all the users to implement summarization and compaction themselves, right? So it'll be perfect for just off the shelf. Like this is what the behavior will be.
One comment: we need docs to support .md mode for their pages, so you can basically just see the markdown. You don't see all the extra HTML structure because HTML has a lot of extra, it eats up a lot of extra context because of the syntax. So yes, just limiting the context, and that can be very helpful. All right, tool overload confuses models.
Yep.
Shocker. I think we've if you've watched this, you know that we've probably told you, like, if you're building agents, you need to limit the amount of tools you give an agent, which is also why sometimes you'll structure things into multiple agents, or you kind of split control up if you need to support a larger amount of tools by, maybe architecting a few agents that can handle certain things. But yeah, tool overload is a real thing.
Yep. And don't trust just because your MCP has like 1,000 tools doesn't mean it's a good thing.
Yeah, you give it the tools you actually know you want it to have. Don't give it any extra tools. And the thing that I think people don't talk about, and is actually, like, it's probably why evals are really important. And I think we've talked about it a lot. People probably know our opinion, but even adding a tool to your agent could impact your agent's behavior.
Yep.
Because now that, as it says here, that tool description consumes part of your context window. Now it's like it has a different amount of context to work with. And I know it seems trivial, but it has one more decision it has to make between, if you go from 10 to 11 tools, that's like 10% more tools, and now has to decide which one to call, if it makes sense. It eats up some of the context. I think, over time, it probably gets better and better, right? Tool calling's better now than it was 6 months ago. But it is like, it's not a solved problem where you can just give it every tool.
Dude, I had a homie that had like a custom tool, and then he just spread a whole MCP server. And he was like, hey man, like Mastra doesn't work, like the tool's not getting called. And I was like, oh yeah, what's your tool name? And the tool name's like write file. Let's just put that in just as an example. And he had the MCP file system as well. And he was like, oh, my tool's not getting called. Well, that's because you have two write file tools that are just exist in the context window, and it's not picking that one, So watch out.
Dude, humans are no different. That's like I can send you a message on Telegram, I can send you a text, I can send you a Slack. That's why sometimes, like, midday we'll be chatting on text and some days on Slack, right? It's like, I don't even know which tool to call to send Abby a message. So how would I expect an agent knows the right one at the right time? But anyways, I think it just goes to show you need to limit tools. Don't give it only what it absolutely needs. Be very descriptive in your tool descriptions, the right level of descriptions, so your agent or your LLM can actually decide. And have evals so if you add more tools, if it degrades the previous experiences.
Yep. Oh, we got a good comment here from Pro Game Fixers. I'm using Cursor, and you might have heard recently they limited the specific model calls, basically forcing us to use auto model select mode. I added a rule: only choose the best model and print the model name at the start. It always says it's Claude Sonnet 4, but I'm not sure Cursor is gaslighting me. Dude, I think Cursor's gaslighting me too, bro. I think so. I'm like a little bit. It's sus right now. Auto mode is sus right now, in my opinion. Because if you look at the thinking details, I saw that it used like 2 different models during the auto mode, and even I was like just saying, hey, I want to use Sonnet, right? So I hope it's not gaslighting you, but I think it is.
Yeah. This question: what would be the solution for tool overload, though? Honestly, there's not an easy solution, but it's, there's different tricks you can kind of build in, right? Where it's like, maybe that's where an agent calls another agent that has access to that large, specific set of tools. So if you have one agent that does, I'm making this up, but one is like your support agent that can access Zendesk and can send messages to Slack. And maybe you have another agent that can write PRs, but you run into additional complexity there because it's harder to test that system. It's harder to make sure that when you make changes, you have to eval the whole system, and each individual agent. So your complexity goes way up. So there isn't like an easy solution to tool overload, but the solution is, probably additional architectural complexity, at least right now.
Yeah. Or maybe you use workflows to encapsulate more logic in a single tool execution. Instead of having 3 tools, you just have one tool that calls 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no, like an example would be like doing a refund, right? If you're doing a refund, if I told you, Abby, I gave you a bunch of tools for like Stripe refunds, and there's like maybe our policy on refunds and all this, like you would now follow a couple steps to like determine, should I make this refund or not? If this customer requests it, is it in the right time frame? Like, you have these rules. So rather than write the rules in a system prompt and give you, the agent 3 tools, I could just write a workflow that says process refund, and it calls it. It doesn't have to think about when it should, like, when is the right time to do a refund or not, because the workflow would run and then return back, yes, the refund was processed, or no, here's the reason, so that reason could be returned to the user. It doesn't have to think about that. So you're able to pull out parts of your application into more deterministic flows and workflows, and then use that.
Yeah. Like, I remember the homies at Wildcard were big on like tool flows. And then our friend Shoya from Japan is like building MCP workflows. So like you can get around these types of things. So yeah, it's definitely a problem space that's very active.
Yeah. Anyways, so last one, Unix philosophy beats vertical integration. Simple composable tools that do one thing well.
Yep.
Yeah, simple tools are better. That's why, like, just a grep tool or a write file tool.
Because I think simple means predictable in this case, right? Or in most cases, it's predictable. Like when you do a grep, like it's quite predictable what the structure of the output will be, right?
And that's it.
That's it.
That's the show.
That's a pretty good list too.
Yeah, that's a good list.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you were building a coding agent, it's worth reading through that, thinking through the problem. I honestly, like, building a coding agent is kind of 2 things go through my mind. One is like, it's never been a better time, because I feel like there's so much that's been solved, and you have so many good examples that work pretty well. But also, like, do you need a coding agent or not? Because Claude Code might just be able to do it better than your coding agent that you write anyways.
Your coding agent could be Claude Code SDK powered, right?
That's also true. Yeah, maybe it uses Claude Code under the hood, but your little spin on it, or like the set of tools that you want it to have, are slightly different. I don't know. So
Claude Code agent template sounds pretty good for anyone listening. That would be interesting, because I think there is an AI SDK model provider for Claude Code. You could do some shit.
Yeah, there's some ideas for sure.
Yeah. All right, dude. I think we should end this because I got to pee really bad. So.
Dude, I've had to for literally like an hour now. So we're not used to we haven't gone 2.5 hours in a long time. Give Mastra a star on GitHub if you are watching this. Please go to mastra.build if you're interested in joining the hackathon. We're building Mastra templates for the next 2 weeks. We're going to showcase a bunch of them on social media and on the templates page on the Mastra website. As always, you can follow Abi on X. There it is. You can follow me as well. There I am. We will see you again next week at the same time.
Thanks. Peace.
See ya.